the groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden
This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimilla, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn. And this is not Doug, by the way. Everybody's like, whoa, Doug got a sex change. It's crazy.
Doug's hot.
Yeah. Now, Doug's on his way. And for those of you out there who don't know who Doug is my business partner for 25 years, both THC and HoodLamb. So he's in town. He just happens to be swinging through. His sister lives in Monument, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
He's got his kid with him, which is also cool because
really cool.
We both got kids now, so
that's great.
We're like on a whole different level. So anyway, so Doug's on his way, and he's also bringing with him Julian, who is he's basically taking over my job at TH Seeds for Europe, and he is keeping the fire stoked and bringing all the new genetics that people keep asking me about, and I'm like, dude, that's got nothing to do with me at this point in time. It's really got Julian is doing all that work. So we're going to have him on the show, which is super cool. So it's like I'm interviewing my own breeder who I know, but I don't know a lot of the ins and outs because I'm not there every day, you know what I mean? And so it's cool. It's and a lot of it's been, we've been collabing, without really collabing, even though,
You guys have been collabing the whole time. Come on.
Well, we've been collabing, like, I give him something to work with, and then he does all the selection, which is super cool. And so I don't,
I like this parallel, though, this, switch reversal.
It is cool. And so they're coming in, and then in the meantime, I got Shailene in the house.
What up?
And she is possibly going to be in the same building doing some stuff here, which would be awesome. So then we would have probably a drop-in guest at any given moment. We'll never know basically at this point.
Guests for days, I guess you could say. Yeah.
So you might be more familiar on this show. Behind the wheels of Not Steel is Joel today. MTI's out of town.
What up?
Joel came in to cover.
Joel.
We had a little slower time getting in, but I already knew that everyone was going to be late, so I didn't really want to start and be dragging it out for too long.
Right.
Last night when Doug came in, he was like, so what are we going to talk about? And I was like, dude, you're my partner for 25 years. I'm pretty sure we can come up with a few anecdotal stories. And really, I think what a lot of people like on this show is, the sort of authentic stories that we kind of try to bring to the table, which are the beginning stages and the sort of like learning curve, which that's what Doug and I, we hit the ceiling so many times on so many things and like got to the point where we couldn't go any further because there was no way to do it at that time.
Yep.
And then, we've also dealt with every thing that everybody ends up dealing with whenever you try to throw events or you try to, like, oh, really? You can't smoke here?
Right.
Like, no kidding, because we were the Americans living in Amsterdam pushing the envelope every time as much as we could because we were there under the assumption that, we thought weed was illegal, even though we knew, but we would just play the stupid card forever. Like, I thought you could do this, So,
sorry.
So he's here, and they were just in Cali, too, so they got they've been checking out a bunch of different operations out there. Doug's from Cali, so that's what's also the kind of ironic part is that when I came back to America, I was like kind of thinking he was going to do it first because it was like, Cali people usually wuss out pretty early and go home, but he's been actually hacking it there for as long as I was there plus now because I was there a couple years earlier than him, but I left now long. I think we're balanced out about the same amount of time. And, it's a rough existence as a foreigner in a country like that, trying to keep afloat and doing your thing. Just the day-to-day struggle was always like what kept us in shape in a sense as far as like, mentally and whatever, just because it was like you could never knew how you were going to go forward.
Right. You had to always be on the ball.
Heard some good news that Steve Bannon's been removed from his office, which is which is a great day. It's a great day.
Well, that was the alt-right thing to do.
Right.
Well, all right.
All right.
They need those. They got so many good slogans. Like, damn, I don't like that. I don't
I
like
like control, alt-right, delete.
That's a good one. I like that
Yeah.
too. That's also good. See, there's some good ones out there. Nice. But
I
yeah,
made that one up myself. Though.
did you?
Yeah.
That's a good one. You need to get on that. T-shirts.
I probably shouldn't have said anything.
No, that's already been being made as we speak. Print now. Guys like.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good one. Good one. But next is sessions. I mean, that's the key to this whole thing. Get rid of the. I mean, it is the like.
It's insane.
I can't. I basically I don't even like. I don't have TV now, which is, I mean, great I guess because whenever I stay at a hotel, I put on like either CNN and Fox just to see what the world thinks is real. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh my god, like this is nuts. Like CNN is bad, but it's funny because now CNN is fighting with the president, so it's hilarious. It's like
Yep.
this is great. You know, they just sit around all day. You're like, fuck, we gotta fuck with them. And then you go to Fox, it's like this just licking his balls. Like you just basically like put on the show, and you're like, who are these people? Like,
Right.
oh my god, like they're just talking out their ass. It is a lot like the Nazis, where you're like, they think they're on the right side right now because they're all like, ho 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 ho. But when if shit gets fucking finally dealt with,
Yeah.
it's like head in shame, and you know what I mean. It's like
After Friday, it just really took a turn, though. You know.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's
So I mean.
not to get all politically.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's
guys.
all right. We can. We're allowed to do whatever we want. It's my show.
It is good to see Nazis cry, though.
Oh my god,
Man, I watched it
I know.
like 3 times
I
in a
did
row.
too.
It's just like, what?
I know, right? I just keep thinking of the leave Britney alone video. Like if you just morphed those two videos together, it's almost like the same sort of little girl crying, leave us alone. It's like, oh, there's some gold there for sure. There's some serious gold. And the last thing you want to do is now that, I mean, whenever you give the media so much to work with,
Oh gosh.
it's like you're anti-media, and you know what I mean, in your mentality, like you think, and you think that we're not gonna like just tear that up. That thing is gonna be memed so bad, and I haven't even looked, but I know that is like pure gold. I mean,
The dude is on blast.
and the funny part was is that when I saw him a couple days earlier, and I saw him he got maced, right, and he was pouring milk on his face, and he was all pissed off, and they're like, who did it? He's like, commies. Fucking commies, man. And I'm like, oh my god. And then I heard somebody say something like whatever his last name was, Cantrell or something like that.
Cantrell or
Cantrell?
something.
Cantrell, yeah.
Yeah. So they
Yes.
said his name, but then they said something else like they were trying to like make him sound like he was like a lord or something. And I was like, wait a minute, is that guy's last name? So then I looked up, all right, boom, and I found him, and I was like, oh damn, this guy. And he got me so pissed off at that moment that I was just like, I mean, I'm ready to go in the car and just punch this guy in the face. Like it was just like that. I mean, I was like, man, these people, and I don't think like that. But I was just like, damn, I would love to just go fucking clock this guy because he's fucking he's out of line, and that was before all the shit went down.
Yeah, totally.
And when all the shit went down, I was like, oh my god, imagine how. If I'm pissed off and I'm just like a relaxed stoner guy who's like normally never gets mad, and I'm getting fucking ripping, like, oh my god, this guy, who does he fucking think he is?
Right.
And apparently he's a podcaster too. So he's got his own podcast, which is this, obviously very awesome show. And but then it was just like within 48 hours, he's crying on TV. So I was just like, I felt like I got vindicated just by that video. Like that was enough.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I punched him in the face. Like he was
Fucking pathetic.
It is.
Non-violent protests. We were not like you were just saying we'll fucking kill these people if we have to.
Exactly. No, and that's what they did.
Come on, make up your mind.
They edited that stuff
I mean,
over and
shit.
over again, so it was pretty funny. It was like they kept going back to that.
What about that guy, that Daily Storm guy?
Oh, yeah,
the angling guy.
He went down.
When I first saw him, I was like, "That's the dude Lawrence from Westworld." I had to look it up, Google it, and shit. I was like, "Oh shit!" But Anonymous took over the site. Did you see that?
Yep.
They said they didn't, but whatever. I mean,
it was.
Yeah.
I was checking it and looking at.
GoDaddy shut him down, and then
Yeah.
Google shut him down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
All right, enough of that shit.
Yep.
So, and
Topic.
how did weed get involved? What did the weed do to that story? There's got to be something, right? Something.
I think a lack of weed.
Yeah,
Yes.
Shows you how
think
the
about
South-
think
shows you
about
how
where
they-
they are. They can't. They don't have it down
Well,
there.
the fuck, you know what it is? You know what it is? It's because our buddy Duke's not there anymore. That's the problem.
It's true.
They don't have any good weed left.
Well,
That's exactly what happened,
Duke's
dude.
an amazing man.
That's
he's
exact-
Like Duke Diamond or David Duke?
Duke time.
Duke Diamond.
Yeah, you don't want to mix up the wrong.
All right,
groups
so
on
we
it.
quit talking about nationalists and Nazis and shit.
Yeah, we're not on that
There you
tip
go.
anymore. We're definitely off that tip. But yeah, all the good weed left. So it happened in Amsterdam when I left. Same thing.
Right.
Turned to shit.
Yeah.
No, I'm not claiming that.
No.
So,
What else? Let's.
well, let's go straight out of the gate and hit the sponsors, because when Doug gets here, which is going to be pretty soon, because I think he's getting an Uber over here,
Sweet.
then he's going to be like, it's gonna get.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna get weird. It's gonna get weird. It's gonna
You
get weird.
guys have to have your bro time.
Well, the funny part is that we didn't really get we didn't really talk that much last night. So a lot of this is going to be half open discussion, half
Personal catch up.
going back.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, fuck, I was pissed off though. I found he was the keeper of my one possession that I've been like trying to get
Did
back.
he bring it?
No, and he doesn't know where it is. That's
Oh,
the worst. So we'll talk about that on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get into it now, but I'll bring
Okay.
that up. Don't you worry.
All right.
I'll bring
be
up all.
listening.
I'll bring up as many personal things to try to make this completely off the rails as much as
I
possible.
love it.
But yeah, straight. Well, no, we won't go with James. We'll do him last because
Yeah. Save
save
that.
James for
Save
last.
James.
Save James for last.
Mr. Bear.
Our buddies over at Incredible Edibles,
Love them.
crushing the game. All new flavors of gummies and stuff out there. They got like about 5 new flavors out.
Always,
Oh,
always.
watch
popping
out for
up
the
flavors.
music comes on this. There's a music on this site, so watch out. It might pop up and no, nothing. Cool, because they have their own little soundtrack, and sometimes that comes in, and you're like, where is this music coming from?
That's the Build a Soul site. Right?
No, it's the Incredibles
See
one.
it?
But you can go to iloveincredibles.com, check out our site, and see where the store locator, see where they're at. If you're here in Colorado, it's going to be pretty much everywhere. If you're in Nevada, there's definitely going to be some spots you can find them. In California, there's going to be some spots you're going to be able to find them. And soon, I would say, nationwide.
Nationwide.
Hopefully. I mean,
I
they're definitely
see
looking
it. I
for.
see it coming.
And if you're in a state that's rec or going rec, then
They're
do
going
it.
hard. Stephen
if you want to go for a guaranteed product, hit these guys up. Flies off the shelf.
Yep.
Also, here in Colorado, you can pick up their extracts. The black label is on fire every time, guaranteed every time, flavor on point, and then they have a gold label, which is from the shop you're standing in at that given moment. And yeah, you can hit them up again at iloveincredibles.com and see where they're at. And our guys, Jeremy probably, and yes, living over at Build a Soil. If you need, well, we're not in the crazy time of season there was before where people were just going nuts. Now you might even get a chance to talk to him direct. Before
I think you could.
He was usually like,
Oh,
dude,
no.
it's busy as hell. But if you need custom blended soil, he's your man. Also, if you need hard to find amendments, he's your man. If you need to, have somebody who can walk you through it, and he's your man. That is the key, because everybody who works for him is super knowledgeable. They know the products that they're selling. It's not like 16-year-old turn and burn, like, whatever, bro.
They really know.
Well, yeah, like I heard about this one particular shop. I can't mention their names because they used to sponsor the show. but anyway, a guy went in there recently, and it was all new people, and he was like, this guy came in and said, yeah, I'm looking for some nematodes. And then the kid was like, oh, those are the things in the fridge. I was like, that was his response, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh my God. So at the end of the day, you want knowledgeable people when you call these guys or talk to them. You want to have people that actually, done this before, have experience. And that's the cool part about him is he trains all his people properly. And
He does.
And we've had.
I've met all of them.
Two was
They
there. Were you with two at that time?
I
Yeah,
was
so
with
you guys.
two.
Yeah,
I've
so-
met every single person down to the person who bags every bag that leaves their warehouse.
Yeah. So
Seriously, solid guys. They know what they're doing. Shit's proper. Hit Build a Soil up. I'm serious. Even if you're out of state, far away, call them. Hit them up. They know what they're talking about. Check them out.
Yep, and you can go to buildasoil.com or you can call them direct at 855-877-SOIL and talk to a human being. not a robot. I'm not guaranteeing that. They might be a robot right at the beginning, like, hello, welcome to Build a Soil.
What kind of soil would you like today?
And you're like, yeah, and you have to keep hitting the wrong button, and that'll be nuts. Drive you nuts. And last but not least.
Oh, what about?
Oh, no, not last but not least. Dude, we only have 4, and I'm already can't count. I can't count to 4. That's how good I am. But you don't have to be able to count to 4 to use New Millennium. Anybody can use it.
Yeah.
Nick, my 5-year-old, loves New Millennium. No, he doesn't. I don't let him mix the soil yet. But you can go to the website where they just is it there yet? And it says August, so it's
coming August.
It's not quite there. But soon you'll be able to go to the website and use their nutrient calculator, which will make it all easier. So you don't have to buy too much of one product. They have 9 total products at this point. And you can actually work with, like, if you have your own program already and you're doing stuff, you don't have to like instantly jump over to their thing. You can pick up a couple products, and try them out and feel how they feel before you go set yourself,
They have
entirely
a lot
design.
of solid individual products. So
Yeah,
it's
and I would say the
interchangeable.
starting point I would tell everybody to do is just get the Ruby Fulvic right out of the gate, because they've sourced 9 kinds of fulvic acid into one bottle. So literally, instead of getting like one type of fulvic, you got 9 kinds. So realistically, when you're talking about those kind of elements, they're super. You don't need much,
Right.
but you have to hit the right one at the right time. And it's like kind of like when you have 9, you're covered all bases.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Especially with each
Kind of like a full spectrum oil for
Mm-hmm.
a patient compared to like one that's real isolated single molecule, and you'd be like, I would trust the full spectrum because
Totally.
you don't even know what's going on down there, right?
Right.
Like, and it's sort of the same in the root zone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mystery going on. There's a lot of solved mysteries, but it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the brains of the plant where
It's a living thing.
we know what's going on, but then there's a certain point, and it's right there with the fulvics and because the humic is like a non-mobile, right? So humic acid is what's more, available, let's say. And then when you get the fulvics, they're mobile, so they can cruise around the plant and hit where needed. You know what I mean? So you don't end up with like not getting the plant. Like, you don't need much, literally, is how I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you don't need fucking much. So get that product, get the Winter Frost if you want to get like a finishing product and you haven't using one already, or if you're going to compare it to whatever you're using. The Winter Frost is definitely a great product. And I mean, all of them, like I said, they are all kind of standalone on themselves, but those 2 products I would say are good starters as like, okay, I like this. And if you contact us, I'm sure we get you a little sample somehow, because these guys, they love to come on the show and give samples. So even if we can't get them to you right away, contact us at info@the Show, and we'll get you guys at least one of those products to try. All right?
Give them
Why
a
not?
shout. Yep.
Of course.
Absolutely. Great
Of
products.
course. I'm here. I am giving away stuff that I don't even know.
Oh, they'll do it.
Of course they will. You see,
They're
that's
great.
how we do it around here. We just tell them what's going on.
It's a clever logo.
NewMillenniumNutrients.com is the website, and contact them for availability in your area. And if you're on the East Coast, I know they're in Rhode Island. They're definitely killing it out there with a few
Yep.
people I know.
They are.
And they're not they're not like, it's not like the top 3 guys who
Yeah,
are on every single shelf. But if you can.
They're getting big.
Yeah, and the thing is, the key to New Millennium is the fact that the guy who's behind it all is a veteran who's seen it all, and he's really pragmatic grower who. That's why it's got the fulvic thing like the way it is, because he's one of those people who's been doing it a long time, and he knows that no one else is going to source 9 kinds of fucking fulvic out. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
he's trying to like break the mold on a few things, but at the same time, he knows that there's a bunch of bullshit out there that's been put, unnecessarily separated for no reason whatsoever,
Absolutely.
other than more profit. So he's just like, nah, But at the same time, not trying to give you an all-in-one, which the reason they do keep them separate is we've always have to, because certain elements knock each other out, and if you start throwing them in a bag together and saying that they're going to work just because they might work, but it could have worked better if you kept. It's like sound, right? Where if you
Right.
kept the sound all separate, it sounds great. You moved it all into one, it can pass, but it's not nearly the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll never know until you get to that point. I only threw that in because you're here.
I love it.
Just like sound, bro. Anyway, and
Well,
last
it's the human body's the same way. Like you don't
Sure.
eat heavy proteins and fruits together, or carbs and proteins together, because they just different enzymatic processes and things going on. It's the same thing in a plant physiology.
Right.
You know, it seems like they've got that down to a degree of sophistication. So.
Well, that's a lot of times where like diet from areas that people are less complicated, they live longer, even though maybe they live a longer, more boring life. But then you get other people who, you know, live a more extravagant life, but then they're dying off earlier. So you don't know which one's better. Like, do you want the long, boring life or the short party life? Yeah, we eat lots of, I mean, like royalty and stuff. They always fucking clogged arteries and eating butter, like sticks of butter, you know what I mean? And then the peasants were eating like rocks and sticks and like, you know, and somehow living longer, you know what I mean? So they're like, this is strange.
Eventually, they put the butter with the rocks and sticks.
Yeah, you know, or they ate some hemp gruel or something like that. That was really what it was. A lot of times it was like they ate hemp and they lived really long time, and then the king or whatever would just eat butter on butter. You know what I mean? And, just, and be all fat and out of shape and die early, you know what I mean? So simplicity on a lot of things is the way, you know what I mean? Same with growing too. Like whenever you're like overcomplicating the situation, that's when things go wrong. And when you like slow down a little bit, whoa, wow, look at, I didn't water them for 3 days and they look great. It's like, yeah, because you're fucking overwatering them the whole time.
Right.
That's why they're looking all sad. You kept thinking sad means more water, and it's like insanity. Okay, last but not least. Last
Seeds
but
here
not
now.
Seeds here now.
Seeds here now.
Seeds here now.
Now.
Seeds here now.
Seeds here now.
All right, so Exotic did a big drop recently. I think that, I don't know if you know there's anything left yet, but that was a week ago or so. But you can go to seedsherenow.com and check out all the daily specials. I don't think he sent me a personal thing, but he's going to call in about 20 minutes anyway. Probably like just start. Yeah, well, I know that's going to roll right into him. It's going to roll into them, and then we're going to roll into Doug. So go figure. But he's got a big drop from Colorado recently. Also, specials whenever you buy X amount of who's, you get a whole bunch of these. Those kind of deals all the time. But the main thing about Seeds Here Now, which is the deal, is that these guys have the best customer service.
They do.
And if you have any problems with any of your genetics, of any of your seeds, you can just basically contact them. They'll replace them. They'd rather keep you happy than sit here and argue with you over like why didn't it go wrong. But at the end of the day, as a guy who sold a lot of seeds, I've heard it all. And you know, I've also gone back and sprouted seeds where people told me they had 0 germination rates and fucking got 80%. And be like, what show me where you're not, like, I don't understand, you know what I mean? And then I've had other times, but I've also, you know, back in my day, I'd replace everything that I felt was replaceable and legally replaceable. Because I mean, a lot of times I was in Holland, I'd be like, dude, I'm not sending you seeds to anywhere because you bought them in my store. If you come back to the store, no problem. But you know, with Seeds Here Now, customer service #1. That's the key.
Always #1.
And fast and you don't have to select. You don't have to select your top 3. You just get whatever you ordered. And if but you can also go to Seedaholics. Is it Seedaholic? Seeds with an S? Okay. You can go to their other site, Seedaholic, and check out the auction site and see what's going on with that. Hard to find stuff. Last packs, lost packs. You know, all sorts of specials, charities.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing that's cool about the IRS is that it's like very well put together, and it you know, when you win something, you get it. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, actually, well, you know.
No, they actually give you something. They take care of you. Seriously, always the gold standard.
And also the key is the fact that they're all coming from breeders direct in the original packaging.
It's all original, straight up.
You know, and being one of those breeders, I know that they take care of us, which is the key to how you have a good business.
That's
because
why I love it. It's win-win.
Most, you know, I've dealt with a lot of other guys too, and it's always like, oh well, we'll take care of you as they go, and you know, it's like, okay, but if we're all the bank, you know what I mean? Like 20 guys are playing the bank, and one guy's playing the sort of monopoly guy, and he's running around. It's like all it takes is him to fuck up something, and then we're all out. You know, 20 people, 20 vendors are out.
Yeah.
And that happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, especially because a lot of these guys are kind of just doing it all weird too, you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, it's all haphazard, but you know, Bean does it different. James is the gold standard. Seeds Here Now is the gold standard. So you know,
the gold standard. You heard it.
is.
You heard it
It
from
is
her.
the gold
I think
standard.
you might have said that 12 times.
I
It's
love
poss-
them.
the gold-
I
the
tell
gold
everyone. They're like,
standard.
where do I get beans? I'm like, seeds here now, dude.
Yeah. Well, it's easy now. It's like it's good to always direct it.
Easy is easy, but I mean,
Well, the key is
they're
that-
legit.
Well, the key
It's
is
legit.
that when you send anybody to any business, doesn't matter who it is, it's like if they don't take care of your people that you're sending to them, then they're, there's no point of you sending them to them in the first place. And that's the
Totally.
reason why, like, it's hard because in our industry, there's so many people who promise and underdeliver that's kind of like, you have to think about it sometimes because you'll link two people together that you think are on point and somehow it all fucking fizzles and you're like, what? Like, wait a minute. It was so easy. It was right there.
Right.
I mean, all you got to do is look at the list of breeders. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why all of these OGs are working with seeds here now. So
Yeah, and
Yeah.
more and more of them are becoming exclusive too,
Right.
which is like, that was the way I did it right out of the gate. Like, you know what? Yeah, you can have my exclusivity just because at least then I don't have to I know what's going on. Like if something goes wrong,
Right.
it goes back
take-
to like
you're
we can
taken care of.
we can talk, and it can be at any level of the project. Like maybe there is a low germ rate, or maybe there is a bunch of males that come
total
out,
quality control.
and then all of a sudden you see a pattern coming, and oh well, these people aren't lying, so we're going to take care of them, and then it's easy enough for me to take care of James, and it's easy enough for James then to take
Absolutely.
care of them, and then whereas if you have like, we've had it also too where one other guy in Oregon was selling seeds, and
Right.
just that one guy caused it a problem where the only reason we knew that it was him was because on the photo we could see that it was old packaging before a certain time frame. So it was like, oh, it has to be
yeah.
him. You know what I mean?
Right.
But once you have like 20 different people selling your seeds or more, and they're all kind of crossing into each other's path, that's when you end up with more of a hard way for the guy who's the breeder to actually even come back and know if there's legit. Because we have so
Right.
many guys who've just, oh, well, if I hit up every single seed company and tell them that I bought some seeds with no proof at all, then one
Right.
of them will be like, sure. But I mean, it's the key too, is it's all about having the proof and being able to follow up. And then that's where with the guys at Seeds Here Now, the key is that I also know that when I have to talk to their people who are taking care of stuff, it's taken care of because
Right.
it's not just a one-man show. It's
Totally.
a whole team of people.
He's got a very good team, yeah.
And also when it comes to packaging beans and stuff, it's like they're responsible for, a lot of those things because they see it from the beginning. So there's never a question, and everything's labeled and marked, and that, and also it's the same as like with wines and stuff like that, because you get a batch that's not quite correct. You want to be able to go in,
Right.
find that batch, and not be like, oh no, just one big
Yeah, everyone has a number.
hodgepodge
Yeah.
of whatever. So, seedsherenow.com, check them out. Yeah, and if you're in hemp, what's this weekend is Hempfest, right?
It is,
So
yep.
Hempfest, I know they're there.
Yep.
And then they're also in Port Hill. Well, we'll have James on in a minute. He's going to call in 20 with a mystery guy. Oh, yeah, actually, I need to send that to you. I'm going to send you a photo for Joel. I'm sending you a photo, not right away, but when James calls in around 20, we need to, we're having a little game. We're having a little giveaway.
I love giveaways.
I love giveaways.
give it away, give it away, give it away now.
So that's what Shailene's going to be like our hype guy. She's just going to be like, I love that. That's what
I think I'm good at that. Yeah.
I love that. I hear Doug in the house, right? So we have Doug up there jibber jabbering with Josh. So we will have him rolling in a second, and
About to get
Julian.
hot.
It's about to get cray cray. No, not really, but
Well, you guys are going back. I'm excited for this. I think it's going to be good.
yeah, it's
This is good for you guys to catch up, make face, but it's also good for all of us to hear about it,
Well, the thing is, it's weird because even Doug didn't get it. That next year in July 1st of next year is our 25th anniversary officially. Because I
love it.
I know exactly the day we paid our first. I'm counting as the day we signed the contract for this place here, CIA. Which, and I had to pull this shirt thanks to
love it.
Richard
That's
Rose. Thanks to
awesome.
Richard Rose for giving this one back to me because it's been a while. And this was our first T-shirt we ever printed. It's not on hemp. It's pre-hemp. But it was like
Serendipitous.
but when we
I
did
loved
it, it was like we weren't really understanding what we were doing, but now everybody who has this, because it's the United Stoners of the world, and you could never do this now. Like,
No.
you will get in so much trouble trying to be the CIA, and because there was no online then. There was
Right.
there's nothing.
There's nothing.
We were just in that zone where, and the reason that we did this was because of our business partner being a real, like, rebel, you know, and he wanted to, and the funny thing is there was a book called Cannabis in Amsterdam that came out. And so he basically took the name of the book
Right.
and named it our company. And we knew the guy who made the book and stuff. So he was like, yeah, sure, whatever you want. So like we already had a book. Like it was instant, hey, we got a book.
I love it.
But the idea was, because the guy didn't really see that as he didn't catch the
Yeah,
acronym. He was just like,
totally.
yeah, she's Cannabis in Amsterdam, yeah. And then we were like, CIA, bro. Yeah, we like that. You know what I mean? So it was one of those. And, you know, again, we just kind of got away with murder at that point. And it's a good feeling, you know, because it was like the time period where, you know, there wasn't very many people standing up for cannabis yet in 93. You know what I mean? It was like 95, 96 is when the voices were heard in California and things started to happen. But in that time period, it was kind of like the post-'80s, which were terrible. Like the 80s
Right.
were the worst. And just after the Gulf War began, so that was also kind of like separating the world, you know what I mean? And then I was working at Sensi Seeds, and Doug came, and we'll get into this in a minute when he comes down, but he came in 90, right around the same time, end of 92, I guess, beginning of 93. And so, like, and he was on his way to the Olympics. So he was like, or no, he'd just come from the Olympics. He was on his way back just to go snowboarding and teach snowboarding. So we literally snatched him because he had some business skills. Didn't know, you know, and weed-wise, I was the weed guy. Like, I'm the weed guy. One guy's the fucking revolutionary, and then Doug's like the business guy. Business Doug. The face. Basically, we're like the A-team,
So
you know
it's
what I
Doug
mean?
the face.
It was very much
Yeah.
like the A-team, and
Yeah.
he always played the face. He was like, we sent him to the bank. We sent him to the, you know, and I was like the long-haired guy. And so, yeah, it was a interesting, it's been a very interesting relationship over the last 25. Because
Sounds like it.
Yeah, because I don't think either of us would have ever, in a million years, probably been friends back in the day. So, you know what I mean? Like, we would have just had no reason. Because he's not he's a weed guy, but he's not a weed guy. He's a surfer. I'm not a surfer. So,
Never surfed.
I've surfed. I've tried. I've surfed to Hawaii. Like I didn't surf. Like, I'm killing it. It's more like, yeah, this sort of like, once you get rolled, it's like a lot of things. Like, it's fun until you get rolled a couple times, and then you're just like tired, and you don't even want to deal with it. You know what I mean? You're like, fuck. Same with skiing and snowboarding and all those things. Like, I kind of dabbled in everything, and then I realized, like, I'm going to get really hurt, and I probably don't want to, like, I don't see myself dedicating my life to any of this stuff. You know what I mean? It was just like, it's too cold in the winter. It's too wet in the fucking water. I'm like, fuck the water. I'm like, it's too wet. You know what I mean? And like, Doug is an animal, man. Doug gets up at 4 in the morning,
That's me.
drives
I
2
love that.
hours, gets to be there, and he surfs Amsterdam. And dude, he's nuts. It's like,
That's
you think
insane.
Fukushima's bad, but
Right.
Amsterdam's like a
France is hard, too.
cesspool in a sense. And he's like surfing, and there's big fucking factories behind him and shit. And I'm just like, you guys are nuts. And he'll go and come back and be home by the time, you know, I would get up. So we had different shifts.
I went surfing in the Gulf of Mexico one time.
That's gross too.
It was pretty nasty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
shit floating around.
I bet.
Yeah,
hitting things.
I mean, I don't know if it was like literal shit, but
Yeah.
I mean like bottles and plastic, and yeah, it was pretty nasty. I was like, wow, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Where
We got to be
am I?
careful. We don't want to talk too much about surfing when Doug's around because he'll go nuts. Well, we will. I'll bring it up just to make sure he just feels like he's like in the story itself. But for the most part, yeah, he's a very adamant surfer. Like, we have this is our and you can see it within our company. There's always been like a little bit of a schizophrenic thing going on because of the fact that there's so many messages coming out of us. You know, like there'd be me with my like kind of urban sneaky shit. That's basically it. That was my whole thing. Everything had to be sneaky as fuck. Like, I need secret pockets. I need a paper dispenser. I need this. I need that. I want this to convert into, you know, everything was like that. And then with Doug, it was like literally like he designed the jacket for surfing. I'm like, dude, this is a winter jacket. Like who the fuck's surfing in the winter? You know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, but it's cold when you get out. Because they're in Amsterdam and they're going to the fucking surfing in the morning. They get out and they're super cold. Everyone's cold. And Doug and his crew would have all their hoodlums on. And then all the surfers would be like, anyway, I should be saving all this. There's a lot of Doug stuff. There's a lot of Doug stuff. See, Doug was worried that we would not have 3 hours worth of content.
You guys have
I already
way
said,
over 3
I said,
hours.
dude, I could fill 300 hours of content of just what we've done.
You guys should do some
Before
Doug
you've ever made it
episodes.
down the stairs. That's basically what I would say.
It's still up there.
I know.
Talk about the Gorilla Glue.
Oh,
thing.
the lawsuit?
Yeah, what's going on with that?
You know, the best part about it, in my opinion, is the fact that the guys who are trying to sue them are called Dunn and Dunn. So that to me is that's the icing on the cake. Where I'm like, that's
Dunn and Dunner.
Dunn and Dunnist. Yeah. So apparently, I mean, I wouldn't even touch it with a 10-foot pole if I were another lawyer trying to defend them, because there's really no defense when it comes to the idea that, okay, yes, it's not glue.
Right.
They're not trying to make cannabis glue, right? So that's true. But name association wise and stuff, they have many lawyers, and they have a big company that is in Home Depot and wherever the fucking place in the galaxy. So they have
Don't they think they would just locking in the cannabis demographic? They're like, what stoner's not going to go to Home Depot? Oh, I need some glue. Oh, fuck yeah, dude, Gorilla Glue.
Yeah. No, I know. No, I know. It's like, unless Home Depot's planning on selling weed, there should be no confusion. You know what I mean?
I don't think they are. I don't think they are.
They have smart pods, which is kind of scary.
Well, yeah, they're about to have a lot more. You know. So,
Let's talk about that, since do you have any inside scoops?
I've seen pictures of end caps. I'll say that.
Really?
So, yeah.
They're
in Lowe's
Home Depot
and
and
Home Depot.
Aurora.
Lowe's?
Lowe's.
Really?
I've seen pictures of end caps with Lowe's.
Wow.
Cloner machines, nutrients, some trays and stands.
So is Lowe's taking on the same fuckheads that are doing the Black Magic, or are they?
I don't know things of that nature.
Is it the same?
I just.
I mean,
know
is
that
it Black
they're-
Magic that they're doing? Probably. I would assume so.
I think so.
Yeah, it's
I'm not here to name names. I'm just here to say
Sure.
I've
Well,
seen,
the good part about
visually
that,
so,
because I've seen the Black
you know.
Magic end caps,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
thing is about them, I don't see a lot of stuff getting sold on them. Like I'm like walking by and I'm looking, and then I'll come a couple days later.
It's brand new, Dunn. It's brand new.
Well, it's been, I mean, not brand new enough that I haven't seen it there for months on it, since the beginning.
I mean,
of
but in our demographic, I don't think those are going to be moving off end caps. I mean, I'm talking about, these are pictures from Nevada.
Yeah.
You know, these are pictures from out of state. So,
well, you know, I'm just thinking, I mean, I'm always waiting to see the guy. Like, I'm waiting to go in and, because before I used to play Find the Guy. That was my thing. I was always about find the guy. So
Totally.
you walk in and you'd be like, go to the ventilation section, you see two kids trying to like, I don't know. And they're like, I got an 8 and a 10, and they're trying to piece them together. And you're like, oh, these guys are definitely stoners who like don't have a clue. Especially back in the day when they were 24-hour
you'd
Home
have
Depots.
some interesting stories.
Those are the
going
best,
on.
because I'd go by like around 2 a.m. It'd always be like a couple tweaky stoner kids who like fucked up with their water. Oh, dude, we leaked all the water everywhere. We got to figure out something to fix. They're in there trying to figure out some ventilation or some fucking irrigation or some
Right,
bullshit.
right.
And you're like, who is down at 2 a.m. trying to figure out irrigation things? You know what I mean? And it was like, hey, what's going on?
Growers.
But you know, so I always would definitely always play that one. But I've never seen a cart with any Black Magic in it, which I feel great
I
about.
haven't
I'm
seen
like,
a purchase.
that's a good
yeah.
thing.
I mean, the end cap I saw was a brand new end cap. You know, full banner, everything like that. About three shelves.
So
but-
I'm hoping that they just completely figure out. I hope that people who are serious enough obviously aren't going to go there anyway, because it'd be like, why would you go to Home Depot when you've got to deal with your guy and he lets you pay in 30 days and you know whatever. There's a million
Right.
reasons not to buy equipment at Home Depot.
You know, I mean,
The only thing I can see it being good for is like pumps and stuff like that, where you're like, I don't want to burden my friend who owns a grow shop when my pump breaks, because I'm going to pull some stanky ass pump out of my res and I'm going to drag it down to Home Depot like a fucking champ and be like, give me a new one now. You know what I mean? And be an asshole about it. Whereas you're going to go to your friend and be like, he's going to be like, didn't you buy that like 2 years ago? And you're like, yeah, I'm an asshole. I'm just trying to fucking get a new one back. But you don't feel like an asshole when you go to Home Depot, because they're all assholes. And the key is people. Fuck Home Depot, okay? Because I've already spent, like, I think everybody who listens to this show who's a grower has spent more than it costs to put a kid through college, probably.
Probably,
You know,
I think so.
I know
yeah.
I have. I know I have, and
Yeah.
I'm sure plenty of other people. Like when I gave my statements to my accountant in the very beginning when I first got
Totally.
here, they were like, "You really like Home Depot, huh?" And I'm like, you know, and they're like, dude, you've spent more at Home Depot
Yeah.
than your rent, and
Same
you know,
here.
and like I'm like, yeah, because I'm building out like every room, and
Yeah.
and I just got here. And I didn't have all the juice, and I was trying to like just do the thing like you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I spent like 20 grand. I was like, dude, this is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And on 20 grand on like 16 lights, maybe, you know what I mean? And I was just like, fuck. And I was still not even there. I was just kind of there, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I still had more to do, and in the end, I left there anyway. But yeah, for the most part, you can fuck Home Depot because, first of all,
Well, if fuck Home Depot, then
Well,
where are you
they're-
gonna go, Dunn? Where are you gonna?
well, first of all, I go to Lowe's, even though I don't like Lowe's because I feel like Lowe's is like Target, and fucking Home Depot
Okay.
is
It's like Walmart?
you know what I
Okay.
mean? Where like no one gives a fuck about Walmart, right? And nobody really gives a fuck about Target, but at Target you can tell people are slightly more respectable about what they're doing. Like they're cruising around, they're buying stuff, they're not
Right,
all just
right.
trying to make meth in the fucking corner or something. Home Depot just brings out the worst in people. It's like automatically you're just like everything's like half opened in the fucking aisle, and people don't give a fuck.
Man,
and you go to the
you've had some
clearance
bad
section.
Experiences, huh?
I just like when I go there, it's always like funny too because I will find something I really like. Oh my god, this is a great deal. Ah, fuck, they keep you here.
Oh, yeah,
like
they drag you in.
suck you
Oh,
in
yeah.
because you find some crazy clearance
Well,
thing where you're like, can't. And then the crazy part is like the other day I had to go there because I was getting a fucking money thing sent or whatever, and I was
They
like,
do
oh,
that there?
yeah, they do actually have a better service.
What?
The funny part is here's a classic where somebody needed to send me money. They were like, okay, I'm going to send you. I sent you one in MoneyGram and I sent you one in Walmart to Walmart. Right? I was like, okay, cool. Went to the Walmart to Walmart thing. Boom, that one came. MoneyGram. Oh my god, dude. First of all, the guys put a stop on the money. So I go to pick it up and they're like, yeah, the guy who sent it needs to contact the main office. So he does that. And they're like, you have to come in and show proof of your ID again. I'm like, who, what? How did he even get to the point of like taking your money, giving you a receipt, and then later telling you to come back and show your ID? That doesn't make any sense. So, and he lives in the fucking sticks. So he was like, I'll get to it tonight. So I was like, okay. So it turned into a one-day deal. Next day, so that he goes there tonight. He goes there at night. They can't help him. He misses it because they closed early or whatever bullshit.
Right.
So next day he goes back to the Walmart. Same chick, some Mexican chick who kind of like put his name in the wrong place. So they were like, oh yeah, your name's supposed to be here, but not here. You know, I don't know, some
Right,
bullshit.
right.
So then they start asking him all these questions about me. And then he's like, dude, I'm just trying to get him money for some clothing that we're trying to do. It's just a fucking deposit on clothing, and I don't have a bank account, so I'm trying to get him money so he can get it into the fucking wholesale thing, right? And they're like, okay, so how long have you known him? What's his birth date? Well, you know, just da-da-da-da. And they're like, you're sending money into a high-risk area. It's like, what is this, like a war zone or something? Like, okay, so Colorado,
Interesting.
high risk area.
Okay.
So anything over $2,000, they're fucking on you. And,
Cha-ching.
and literally it was
High
$2,050.
Of
I was
course.
like, okay, it
50
was
over.
$2,050. And so they put a block on it, and then they just gave him his money back in the end. And like after 2 days of me like kind of going, I needed to get this in so I could send the wire out, you know?
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, I don't know, nightmare. And then in the end, so it was like, so Walmart to Walmart, boom. MoneyGram, a company that's only doing money, impossible. Can't do it. You know what I mean? So
Totally.
Walmart upped
So-
the amount you can send.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
they reduced their fees.
I know
did.
it's
lately,
nuts.
yeah.
But you know what I found out? Apparently, according to the guy who sent the money, was Walmart to Walmart is owned by MoneyGram, or the other way around, one of the two.
Yeah.
So you're like, so what I'm
Always
thinking
think
is that
of those.
it also pulls up red flags if you try to send one from another and both, you know, because he couldn't send more than 2,500 from this one, and he couldn't send more.
The, Walmart to Walmart is a company called RIA or something. Yeah, I've had to deal with them before because they put a stop on because of some dumb shit on the paperwork or whatever.
So anyway, back to some of the money, and as far as that goes, but you could just see how it's all closing in as far as like, you know, another friend of mine posted a thing the other day where it was like he was in an airport and somebody was getting like stopped by cops, like undercover cops in the airport for $3,000.
Wow.
It's like, what?
I haven't heard that.
That's like nothing. And I was
Yeah.
like $3,000. Like, okay, really? They're not gonna let you travel with that? Like, and apparently
Should be
anything
able
over
to.
2,500 or something now. Like, they were like reducing it
Wow.
from the 10,000. I was like, oh
Sucks
my.
for Vegas.
Yeah, you know, and usually it's interesting too because back in the day I was always like, how are these people even carrying all this money? Because that seems like more of a risk than carrying drugs or anything else. Just because it's like everybody knows what money looks like, and you know, I mean, and if you've ever carried a lot of money, which I don't get to carry it very often, but I have had a few moments in time where I got it in my hand and I'm like, shit's fucking heavy, dude. Like, no matter how you look at it, like, fucking heavy. Like, euros were good because you got the big notes. But for the most part, like, you get, like, a stack of dirty American money. Oof, shit's, like, heavier than what you're trying
They're
to sell.
tracking it all, too. I mean, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Why else have those little strips in them, you know?
Oh, yeah.
420. Do we have our Skype? Do we check it? Because
Uh,
I'm thinking he's going to call in, so.
I have not gotten any Skype action.
So double check that. Because I'll double check for James. He's usually not on time, so I wouldn't really go and think it's us at this point in time. And because then that'll be perfect time, and we'll do the James Bean Man on the Scene 420 spot
I love it.
with a special call in, and I'm trying to get this image sent over to. Our buddy here, so he can post this one. Let's see, one more time. Is it working or not?
What is... Skype's asking me about Office 365. This is weird.
What's Office 3? No, we're not doing that.
No, but this is the Skype thing,
Let's see if you call in. I'll send that to you for the giveaway, and well, let's see. Skype it up.
Skype it.
I don't know what's going on with Skype.
Come on, Skype.
It's got Office 365 bullshit.
What
It's
is-
asking me for credentials for whatever.
Press agree.
I'm
Try that.
Let me see with that easy. It's asking me for a password and email.
I see it entered in.
Oh god, you have to check with MTI on this one.
MTI, yeah.
You have to check with MTI. Obviously, go with the same ones as normal. Do the same ones as normal, right? Do the same as the normal one, and then do the one that I told you before, and try that one with the extra at the end for the password. Remember? Do you remember what the password is? Secret magic. I can't really just say it on the air. It would be kind of.
It's not a secret password anymore, Adam.
info@adamdunnshow.com, and it's saying it's not in the system, but it was Office 365. I've never seen it.
Oh my God! Well, I don't
It's
know.
always something.
Call MTI and try to get that figured out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to check with James and see if he's trying, if there's magic. 'Cause that's why you got to try the Skype before, because you never know. Are you parked in a space at the end of that?
I'm safe.
You talked to her?
Yeah.
Huh?
She knows.
Okay, just because I got
What?
421. Will you have your friend move to space 2 in 5 minutes in case 208 comes back? Is that you?
Should be. I'm in 8 right now. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. That's for you then.
Okay.
That is your message. And it was only 1 minute ago, so you're perfect timing. You checking with Mr. MTI there? Okay. And as you go upstairs, tell
we got a Skype call coming in.
you do? Oh.
Ooh.
Is it working?
Mark was trying to get the Skype issue resolved, but I think we got it.
Yo, yo, yo. Are we on the air? No? Yo, you there?
You tell me.
Okay, yeah.
I'm here.
Okay, I'm here too. Good. We are here.
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
So,
He's not here, man.
welcome to the 420 James Bean, actually almost on time hour. That's
I called on time. If you want to check your call records, I can send you a text of mine.
Oh, of course. I believe you. I believe you. No, we
Yeah,
weren't even
I
sure
know.
if the Skype was working. We were like, because I asked him, I was like, did you check the Skype? He's like, yeah, sort of. You know, sort of never works, as we know. Do we have our other mystery guest on here or no?
Not yet. I've tried to call him. He's more of a mystery than that. So he's being quite mysterious today.
Okay.
I talked to him this morning at 11 in Portland and cleared everything, but he should have been done with his appointment at 2. So, but quickly, I can tell you that I of course just got back from dropping off the show kit in Seattle at HempFest.
Yes, sir.
So if you're in the Seattle area, stop by HempFest. Every brand, every breeder we've got. Everybody stop by out there. And of course, this week we just today we're doing Doug just went live the exotic genetics restock. We had the Colorado drop yesterday. We'll have the archive restock next week. I just got a box from a mystery box. We'll go with our mystery guests. But
so if
how's the show been?
It's been good. It's been good. I got Doug just rolled in, so we got Doug and Julian coming in to high five on the way out. Shailene, who is in filling in right now, just to keep the flow going.
I appreciate it, Dunn.
We did our shout outs already, so that's good. Did pay the bills. See, there you go, paid the bills, and now we are sliding into the 2-hour power hour with Doug. He's going to be so tired. He's going to be like, oh God, why'd you make me do this? But we got you for the next couple minutes. So our okay, I just sent to Joel the next pop-up image, which he's going to have to look on the base of face email, right? And then you're going to pick up the latest that I need to put up so that we can, in case mystery guest is reachable. More
Osama than Osama. That's all I can say.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, that's funny. That's the only guy that I forgot to put on I forgot to put on that fucking thing. I put a bunch of other guys that look kind of like that, but not quite.
What's Osama on there?
Yeah, I did not even put Osama on there. So are you going to be manning the other show? That's the one I couldn't remember. Which one is that? The Portland something Fest? Whatever?
Nope. I'm going to be down in Medford.
Medford.
Oregon, THC.
That's what it was. See, that's too much for me to remember right there. Medford, Oregon, THC, what? Huh?
Well, smaller little town, but part of Southern Oregon. And Southern Oregon, as most of your listeners hopefully know, is going off. I mean, Southern Oregon can put out probably pound for pound, maybe as much as NorCal, if not better. Ouch. Sorry, I love you, NorCal. I'm just saying.
That's good.
Southern Oregon's got some really great laws, and they're stuck out of a lot of clean water. There's a lot of really great campus down here. I've got myself lost in a few 12-foot jungles before.
Oh yeah, no, I was telling these guys, is that a little too tight for you? Figured you were small, so we can move the table a tiny bit over. There we go. There we go. No reason to kill you. Oh, went onto the shattered. Oh, good, didn't die. And Julian popping in. We got them both. We got everybody.
Yeah. So Southern Oregon.
Yeah, I was just telling these guys.
Southern Oregon definitely puts it up.
Yeah, I was telling these guys it's kind of like. So, in case mystery guest doesn't pop in, how are we going to do? Are we still going to do a giveaway or what?
Well, definitely. We can always do a giveaway. We still won't be his monster cookies.
No, and won't be able to tell his story either. Well, can you tell his story a little bit just so we know what's going on?
We can still tell some of the fuckery. Like this last weekend we were in Portland. Which is another chronicle of the fuckery. But so we're sitting at Portland, and I get a text from two telling me that he's like, "Look at this guy! He's completely stealing my shit." I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "He just cut and pasted everything off your site, and he's selling it on his site for half price." I said, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "You must have sold it to him." So he's like, and he has a booth there. So Odie and Sonny are there. They're all pumped up because this part of the fuckery is this guy has basically bought a pack from me last year. Out of that 5-pack, selected, if you want to use the word, a male and a female, then bred those two individual plants, and is now reselling them for half price.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Me and Doug have been involved in this industry for a long time. We've seen it all, and kind of like it rolls off your back after a while. Yeah. But the thing about this that was really like crazy is that they were actually at the same show with an aisle and a half away.
Did he call it the same? Or?
Oh yeah, everything the same name, the same description, and half the price, and an aisle away. You know what I mean? Just
cold.
Super lame. And the crazy part is that Odie
and they thought it was cool. they thought it was all right. The people who were doing it didn't see a problem.
No.
Like, excuse me?
Well, their answer to us was
Leafly said it was
ridiculous. No, yeah, exactly. Their answer to us was ridiculous. They said they checked with Leafly, and we're like, what? That doesn't even make sense. That's like saying, you checked with the consumer, whatever, about fucking a copyrighted thing, and they said it's cool. But no, they don't have nothing to do with that. They don't. Copyrights and trademarks are done at the trademark office. They're not done with Leafly. You know what I mean? And the thing is, the reason why we figured out what the problem was is that Leafly puts a TM on every one of those squares that they put out. Because if they put out a Sage square, they put a TM in the top right because that square is actually trademarked, not the strain.
The strain, okay.
It's the trade because that's their
Little
trademark
periodic table.
With the rounded edges and the shape and the color with the strain name is actually their trademarked thing. You know what I mean?
That's what they're trademarked.
So that's what they're trademarked. So these people were just like ignorantly thought that was their job to trademark all the names and that they would do that.
Not ignorantly thought, but blatantly thought that it was okay, and then got cocky to a point where they're being assholes.
Yeah.
But mostly
well, that was the thing is the guy instead of doing all that and not being assholes, they did all that and they were assholes. You know what I mean? They were like hitting me back, saying that they were gonna they were reptilian. Well, they said they're reptilian slayers, and I'm a reptile, and therefore, you know what I mean. And I was like, okay, we know where you're at this point in time, and and then it was like, I know all about you, Dunn, and I was just like, oh my god. And then the craziest part, which is a story I think we told on the show already, but is that Odie. His original address is what the guy was using. One of the breeders' address, old address from Denver. So it was like, this is creepy. You're using my strains and you're using my old address. That's like really that is taking it to the next level, So, but in the further fuckery of all, I mean, we were talking about mystery guests. Is mystery guest not going to show up? Then we might as well just tell his story anyway because we need to find out if those things out there are being sold. Right? So tell us who the mystery guest is.
What's going on? Mystery guest would have been O.G. Cushman, Chris Castasian. O.G. Cushman, more Osama than Osama, I call him. Creator behind a lot of mango stuff, a lot of the monster cookies that won a few years ago in Seattle. The guy's known to be pretty OG, was putting in work, a lot of hard work back in the day, moving units and whatnot. So, and I know him a lot for his mango stuff and just being a gangster. So, kind of a good dude. But when he was gone, somebody actually robbed his house, left his TVs, laptops, cash, and just took all the seed stock, just took all his gear. And so I have the remainder of the positive stock and archive. His store has the other small remaining batch of what Chris has left. Thankfully, his mother plants were at a different location, and so he's still got those. But they're part of the fuckery is people will rob your house. They will steal your shit and they'll steal your seeds. And now we're gonna, we'd like to keep an eye on those. If you see that gear from anywhere else, or if you see anybody else trying to sell that gear, of course, let us know. info@seedsurnow, or let Chris know, or Ben, or myself, and we'll definitely get on it because little leads, people see things, but it's not legit. It's not an authorized rep. That's another reason that when you buy gear, you wanna, people get us, how come I can't just buy them? Well, you want to buy them from an authorized dealer. You know that guy's been vetted. That guy's going to take care of the gear, and so it's going to germinate, or it's going to give you the outcome that you want. So where when you're buying them from third party, like you think you took care of them, you hope he didn't leave them in the car when he went to go get a hot lunch. You know what I mean? Or he didn't one night. You hope he gave half a shit. Right. You don't really know. And so from an authorized rep, you're getting what you're getting. So any source genetics packs that don't come from myself or archive, we'd like to have a lead on. Those are going to be bunked, and those are going to be part of the fuckery. And I know it swings full circle because you and Doug in Amsterdam bubblegum.
Yeah. I was just going to say to Doug, it sounds a little familiar, right? It's like, they like that? Oh, you don't want to give it to them? Oh, shit, they take it. They take. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we lost out on sales because my whole deal was kind of the same as him, but at the same time, I was like, killed myself because I figured if I don't sell anything, then I'll know everybody else who's doing it. It's got to be the one, and we never tracked it down. I mean, we heard, other guys paid other guys for it, and it was one of those classic cut stories where, we didn't even sell it. We didn't do the $10,000 cut to anybody. It just, because it was stolen merchandise and it was real hot commodity at that time, amongst themselves, they all fucked around and sold it to each other for who knows how much. You know what I mean? So it was like kind of like, oh, great. So that got, created probably 50 grand or whatever, or 100 grand around us. We didn't get dick. You know what I mean? We were like, so that was a weird one. But my whole deal was to hold out and not give it to anybody, because I figured then if I don't give it to anybody, I'll know. Of course, I'd given it to Tony. He'd already made the bubbleberry. Gave it to Simon. He did his bubble gum. And then, the good part about it was at that point in time, if I hadn't done that, we would have had nothing. You know what I mean? And that was the kind of like the two learned lessons, which is you do have to trust somebody, but at the end of the day, you also got to, back yourself up, even though, like, out of the end of the day, Simon didn't give us anything, right? I mean, that was pretty much, we're on good terms, which is great.
Yeah, good terms.
And there's not a problem with that. And actually, he's got the name registered. So in the long run, and we're the only ones allowed to use it. So that's good. We worked out. It was a good deal. But for the most part, it's like, even when you give it to somebody you trust, you'll see the difference in their attitude the minute they know you don't have it anymore. They're like, oh, so now you want it, and then all of a sudden, that's literally when the fuckery starts. So that would be the conclusion of your fuckery corner, where it is like reality, where it builds. It's like you see it in people's eyes. You can see it already, like where they're like, oh, now you need it.
Yes,
you need me. You know what I mean? Now they're part of your puzzle. So, that's sucky that we didn't get a chance to get Mr. O.G. Cushman on, because he's always fun. And I had a few anecdotal things for him too. So if he does manage to get in touch with you today, have me
call in.
He's what?
Yep, and I will keep I said I will keep harassing him, and seeing maybe he just OD'd, passed out, smoked too much. I don't know. But we'll call him. I'll keep bugging him.
Okay, sounds good. And then we're going to be seeing. Yep. We're going to be planning for the ADSI for ADSI this year at Emerald Cup, right? So that's going to be an upcoming show where we're going to start sending out invites to the right people. So if you're out there and you want to be part of ADSI this year, yes, it's happening. It will be at the Emerald Cup. Seats Here Now will be involved. Most of you're basically going to be challenging a lot of the best breeders that are on Seeds Here Now's roster, because you'll have at least 10 breeders in, right, James?
Seeds Here Now, we're probably going to bring 12 to 15 breeders to the table for your competition, and that'll be all the breeders, of course, selections, phenotypes grown by the breeders themselves entering. Yeah, so that'll be fun. So that automatically makes it worth getting involved, just because you can. It's like going out and competing with the big boys for a day, and again, you could be the next shining star. You already called Cuban out. He's already pissed off. He was like, "What? This whole thing's a winner's show? Shit, we're going."
Nice.
So,
well, cool. So I'm gonna start the dreaded interview. Yeah. Doug's dying. He's like, "Oh, how was your food? Was it good? Good food?
Great.
Good. Okay. And you're in a good mood. Then Doug's in a good mood. If Doug had a good lunch, it's gonna be a great interview. If it was a bad lunch, he'd be.
Nice.
What's up? Yeah, nice.
Doug can at the end of it, he can drop the surprise of what Seeds Here Now is going to be doing with Doug in the future.
Ooh,
lots of new things.
Lots of new. Well, good.
Cool.
Nice talking to you. And,
all right, thank you very much.
We'll be talking
soon.
I'll
keep on Cushman.
All right, keep on Cushman. Peace. James Bean, man on the scene. All right, well, welcome to the studio, guys.
Yeah. So when you want, we can call Jack.
Oh yeah, cool. So we'll get him on in a little while too. We'll move progressively up the story until we get near Barcelona somewhere, and then we'll call Barcelona. Let's give him a call. Is he actually home again now, or he's back home?
Yeah. He's
okay, so the time. So it's getting. The later it gets, the drunker he is, and the funnier the show gets. Because already PD already said, "Oh, you got to catch him at the right time, though."
He's always busy.
He likes to, well, at the end of the day, it's also, he's too busy that at the end of the day, of course, he goes for it. Bam, I hope. Well, most people in Barcelona do. So, like I said, welcome to the show, Doug Mignola. How many times have I said the name Douglas Mignola? Tens of millions. So many times, whenever I've had to fill out a form back in the day, it was like we were married, right? Yeah. We were basically a married couple for the last 25 years. Longer relationship than most people's parents' marriages.
And since we started in Amsterdam, what I remember is we'd say, "Oh yeah, we're partners," and then they thought we were gay.
Oh yeah, they still think Doug's gay. That's the funny part. they still haven't quite figured that one out. But now I've told that story actually too. And that is literally like Doug and I were both like looking at each other like, is that what people think? Because we were like, no, oh, it's starting to make sense because the real reason why it was even more in I could understand why people might have thought it is that our shop, we're a clothing shop, first of all, right? So you're a clothing guy.
You have long hair.
I had long hair at the time. We both had, we all had our long hair. And
Adam was more emo a little bit back then.
Yeah, and a little bit. And then...
They had emo back then?
Gay guys.
Well, no,
it was emo before emo was cool?
No, it was more like, I don't know.
Gay guys love me, put it that way, that's for sure. I would never have a problem if I wanted to become gay, but I was always and they took me, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, because actually the guy who worked for us, who was our manager, was the #1 gay guy in town. He was the gayest of the gay.
He ran the gay night at the Roxy.
He ran the gayest night in town. And
but he got us on MTV.
And he was he did our fashion shows in the beginning, and I was like, yeah, it probably wouldn't be too hard for other people to might look on from the outside, because we had this girl actually sitting up talking to us and going like, one was talking to me, and then I think I even came to you and was like, dude, I don't know what's going on, and you're like, I heard the same thing. It was like some chick was like, yeah, you're really nice. It's too bad you're gay, and I was like, what? Like, when did that ever happen? And she's like, yeah, you and your partner Doug, and I'm like, partners.
So we had to say business partners.
Because we never said it. We always said, I'm a partner Doug.
Yeah, exactly. For us, I mean, it's normal in America, but there it was kind of like, because so many gays live there.
Amsterdam was like a haven for people who normally had a rough life, and then they moved to Amsterdam, and now they can talk about their partners. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was like, oh, look, he's so out there. He's just like, my partner Doug. 5 years, man. He's been my partner for 9 years. Like, wow, that's a long time. No, but I think that was in the very beginning. That was only when we were maybe 2 years in or something like that. It wasn't that long.
And we were like the young guys in the cannabis world, so.
Well, we were the boys, technically, and now we're the old man. So there you go. That's literally how this whole thing. And the funny part is, there's people older than us, physically, but when it comes to the industry, a lot of times it's like you're in the room and you're like the only other person in there that's been doing it as long as me and Doug is like people who are like never going to make it, because you can just tell they haven't really been. They've been in it doing the one thing that they've been banging their head against the wall trying to make happen. But we never stopped with one thing. That was our sort of like what brought us up and what brought us down at the same time. I mean, between me and Doug, I don't know how many crazy, not obviously paying, like not by the book at all. Everything was never by the book.
Yeah. Diverse business model.
Well, the thing is, and I have a problem of never saying no. Doug had to follow my lead sometimes when it came to stupid stuff, because we already put our foot in it. You know what I mean? Some things worked out well, some things didn't work out well. I mean, the thing is, that was what I tried to explain to other people earlier on the show, and I was kind of just explaining us. What came out was, the thing is, we would hit the ceiling every time because we never. There was no platform. There was nothing. So it would be like, damn, you know what I mean? Like we never realized we're like covered by glass and we're just slamming into it trying to like get there. And the reality was, now it's open. Yeah. And now all of a sudden we're like, fuck, we're so been, like now we can do all these things we've been wanting to do, but it's also changing rapidly. Like it's going to the point where do we want to do those things? You know what I mean? That's the way.
Well, and also there was a lot of firsts that weren't even out there. And it just came to my mind later. Like for instance, I remembered Adam made these laminates, and I'm like, and everyone's talking about rosin now and how you can make hash with rosin, and you don't have to use BHO and all this. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know what? Adam actually did that a long time ago. Back in '93, he would take the hash and the isolator hash, because first we had the pollinator machine. Actually, that was first, and the Dutch would just run that thing forever. But of course, the first bit is the best. And he would put it in between mylar and run it through a laminating machine. And so we'd end it in the hash competition, which back then during the High Times Cannabis Cup, it was like a non-factor. But we liked it. No one else even cared about it.
Hash was like the redheaded stepchild of cannabis as far as the Americans were concerned, because most Americans came over there and they didn't have much experience, and so
so then the pollinator came out, and that was the first what we called hippie crack. And
we don't say the word hippie crack on the show anymore because of the guy with Hippie Crack Seed Company. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Now I know. So, anyways, Adam would run it through
I even invented that guy's seed company back in the day.
So he ran these things through, and then he would roll them like a fruit roll. And then he even did one with a piece of glass where he handed it around the cannabis cup. And that thing went through, I don't know how many
I think
people.
Ed was the last guy that got it, right? Wasn't
Right.
It? There was 29 people or something. I don't know. He was counting. Ed was
Later
counting.
we'd hear about the High Times guys. Oh, we had a party in New York, and they all had these laminates. I'm like, oh, I see what they're doing with them. And then he downsized them to Scooby Snacks, which were smaller, which was easier to give to the contestants and out of the coffee shops. But in theory, when I thought about it, I was like, wait a minute, that's before I'd ever heard of rosin. So that could be.
Yeah, in a way, in a way, yeah, in a way, no. I kind of I thought the same thing too, and I was like, the reality is though, if you looked at my laminator, it was like one of those things where I had to like pull the covers off of it and stuff because basically I'd be putting it through, and you could set your temperatures, and so you could bring it up 1 degree at a time, and I would figure out each strain differently, but there'd be times where be set too high, or it would go through too slow, and it would just squeeze too much, and it would end up going out the edges and stuff, and that was the rosin. So the reality was, if I had somebody on my shoulder going like, hey, you might want to do this and save every little bit, but I was also in this weird state of mind where I thought, okay, well, I have a lot of weed at my access, which I can turn into hash, so that's there's not a lot of people who are able to do that because most people are just taking every gram they can get and turning it into money. Here I am wasting as much as I can, turning it into hash, and I'm realizing, it's a lot of, that would have been $1,000, but oh well, it's now enough hash for me to smoke for the next 5 days with my people or whatever. Yeah. So you go through a lot, but at the same time, you're also wasting, which means a lot of people would get into it and then maybe say, I don't want to waste anything, So I kind of felt like I was on a little island, like, I can just do this and no one else is going to be competing and I'll just do my little craft, And I tried to treat it like a craft. Remember when I was like making the Scooby Snacks and had a little like leather punch, and so I was like total like wood shop feel because I had like
yeah, you made a stamp at one point.
Yeah, well I had like a little thing. I took like a leather punch and I'd make a bunch of laminates on a page. And I'd have labels on both sides, and then I'd take the leather punch and punch it out, and then I would seal it again on the edges, and then I'd use those as my little coins because we'd go around to like, when we went to a club, I'd give the doorman a coin, a hash coin, and then almost every one of them would be like fighting over it after a while because they'd be like, here he comes, give me the coin, so it became like more of a novelty for them. And then I talked to a couple of them. I was talking to, I think, Yarrow or one of those doormen one night, and I was like, yeah, remember when I used to give you guys the hash? And they're like, oh, dude, most of us, we don't smoke hash. We would just put them on the wall. I'm like, really? Fuck, I've given you all my best hash. You're fucking not even smoking it. They're putting it on the wall. They're like, yeah, they were so cool. You know what I mean? But like you're saying, so many firsts. So we're the first. We opened the first hemp store in Europe.
Right.
About 2 months before the Hanfhaus, right? They were like opened in June. No, they opened in September or something.
More importantly, when we got the job to do the Cannabis Cup, before that it wasn't a public event. It was a small private event with seed companies and coffee shops mixed.
This is 1993.
Yes. The 93 Cup. And so what we did was we said, okay, the public could judge the coffee shops, and the celebrity judges could judge the seed companies blind. So the popularity contest was the coffee shops, which became very popular. I think 800 people came that year. The next year, 2,000. After that, always 3,000 or 4,000. And so then the prestigious cup was the seed cup because it was blind tested. And then the popularity contest was the Cannabis Cup, which the first year Aryan won, which he really won. I mean, it was a really good coffee shop. Another coffee shop won best weed. We even had best coffee. We had best ambiance. And the thing about it was back then the coffee shops were a little bit grungy. And it was, we have Super Skunk and we have this. And it wasn't really a nice environment. And the Cannabis Cup actually changed the coffee shops because the success of the ones who won, they got so much business that other people saw it. And then all of a sudden, all the coffee shops got better, which is kind of a model of what you see with the dispensaries here. And also that model of judging the Cannabis Cup was kind of started by us because we thought it was really important, the blind testing with the seed companies.
We did a press cup too.
Right, and to keep it separate from the popularity contest, because it's hard not to have the popularity part of a competition where they actually go to the location.
Yeah, and the thing is...
Is that based on like the amount of purchases per strain?
No, it's just whoever judges...
Compiled.
So the people would go to the coffee shop and they would judge the coffee shop overall for the weed and for the ambiance and for everything
service
like that.
and things like that.
Yeah, so it took forever to actually compile all the ballots.
That was a funny moment in time too, where we're at my apartment. So it's a little tiny apartment in Amsterdam,
and
Doug,
it took forever.
Doug is there, and he's tallying up all the stuff
with Andre Grossman, that
right?
was the High Times photographer, cool guy.
And then he still does work with them. It's crazy, and he's like one of the original. But then Steve Hager.
He was a little bit like, hurry up,
come on, doesn't matter. He's like, it doesn't matter.
And I tabulated the.
Doug was like, it all matters. Doug was like,
numbers,
you know.
Yeah,
and I was like, too high, and I couldn't deal with any of that kind of stuff. So I left
But
it
you
all
know what?
Doug.
Luckily, I had Gatewood Garbreth with me, who's the funny politician from Kentucky.
He's
I think
dead, unfortunately.
He just recently died.
He ran for governor there. He's now a legend.
Yeah,
he's such a legend now.
Well, the thing about him was he comes across as this like politician, Southern guy, really funny. But when it came time to tallying the votes,
he knew it was up.
We were on it. We're with our calculators, and it was like, come on, let's just announce the awards. Forget the coffee shop. It's taking too long. No. We're going to finish this. And so we finished it. And that was kind of the beginning of how you see the contests and everything being run in Spain and everywhere.
Well, even to the point where now there's words that I know that we fucking invented, and they're still using them. Like burnability, I don't think is really a word in a sense, as far as it's like, no, I don't think that would be the real word. I don't think some fire guys are coming in and go, yeah, the burnability of this building is like off the charts, bro. You know, it's like, no, they have real words. So the fact that I see those words still being used in Nico's thing. So Nico's funny because like he's now in his mind created this whole thing, right? And every time we sit down with him, it's kind of like, hey, Nico, do you remember where you got all these things from? You know, because we laid out the groundwork, and I've told this to other people, and they kind of like, it's part of it makes me proud, and part of it makes me sad, you know, because the sad part is that what we saw, which was the potential is kind of already peaked out, and now we're at the ugly part, which we kind of also saw in the beginning too, which was like, wow, imagine if this was in America. Everybody would go nuts. It'd be stupid. It would go off the fucking, you know, it would be like, at least over there, everybody's very pragmatic. Like Dutch people are the most, don't hype up. Like if you're, you know, only people who they hype up. Now Brad Pitt comes into town, they go a little bit nuts. There's certain people that, oh my God, Johnny Depp. But for the most part, it's like, they're like, oh, who's that? Osama, fucking, or not, you know, Osama. It's like, no, is that Obama or something? You know, they don't want to like show any like care because that's their thing. It's that. That's
we had the guy from the first year was from Skid Row, and then what was
Sebastian Bach from Skid Row? Yeah, Sebastian Bach from Skid Row, and that Chips Enough from Enough's Enough.
Yeah, and those are like, and they were like, you better have security for these guys.
That was a joke.
And that was at that time. What was interesting about that time was it was when Snoop Dogg came out with his album. Which just went crazy. Cypress Hill had their album, and House of Pain. It was pretty much all at one time. Beastie Boys was big, and it was just like crazy. The Pot Leaf was the #1 logo in the world, you know. And so it was like, I remember Cypress Hill was playing, and we got the hits from the bong. We had a bong for him.
Well, here's the funnier part. Before you even get into that, is that we heard they were in town because they were down at the Hash Museum. I got like so Monica was working down there. And she's like, Cypress Hill's in town. I was like, okay, because that's how this town was so small.
You run into
it was pretty easy
music stars, and they're not getting swarmed at all.
No, but there's no security required, right? So basically, she told me Cypress Hill's in town. That was their first album. Everybody was like kind of like hyped on it. Not everybody. It was still pretty underground, and they were first time ever outside of America, right? So they were like walking down the street, and I was like, well, they're in town. I'm going to go find them, right? Get out, ride on my bike. Yep, there they are. That wasn't so hard. It was like 2 minutes later, there they are. And we basically stopped them. We told them, hey, we got this new spot. You want to come up and get high? They're like, sure. So they come around, and we just got...
We did the video bong hits then.
No, we didn't, because we weren't. This is pre-video. This is pre-Trichome Challenge. So all we had at the time was a TV, a table, some chairs, a bong.
Had a grow room as you walked in.
I don't even know if that was there, dude. We were so new. No, I think we were so new.
It was a huge pack house space.
Yeah, in Holland, it was a typical Dutch warehouse, which are like long, dark, not like a warehouse you think of here. It's not a warehouse. It's like, this is a Dutch warehouse from the 1600s, and it's like low ceilings, long ass wooden, like the floor in that place was crazy, right? I mean,
Yeah,
those
it was
planks-
like an old wooden floor, and then that was during the squat era. That was during the more funky part. Amsterdam has now gotten gentrified.
Everybody thought we were a squat, and we were paying 3,000 guilders a month. We were paying more money than most anybody we knew. But
we were near Central Station, and we got a lot of attention.
Well, and it was a big ass place, and so that's the thing is most people walked in and were like, if you see a big place like that in Holland, it's usually a squat, so people are just in there and they're just not paying rent or doing whatever, and so people assumed that half the time, and I'd be like, no, dude, we're paying rent. Then it went the other way around where people thought we were super rich. Remember that was that was also.
I'll
fun.
never forget Officer Jolly. So we had a Halloween party or something.
That was a big
and
one.
of course the police come, and of course I got to go out and talk to him.
You were the brain, right? That was the brain year? Was that the brain year? We were all big brains.
We were looking pretty funny. Yeah, we had some funny.
We all had giant brains
because we're Americans, and Halloween is such a big thing for us. They're a dress-up party. You can tell where the Americans are because they're the only ones dressed up. Mm-hmm. So we had this party, and the officer comes in, and she's like,
"It was a Wednesday too."
But we were lucky. We were not in the central police station. We were kind of the outside, even though we were in the center. We're this little corner that we belonged to a different one. And she's like, oh, you're Americans. You should go out to this warehouse for foreigners to set up shop. And I'm like, no, location's important.
Right.
You know, and so she was like, no, and then anyways, that whole thing failed. And so the next time she came to talk to us, she apologized for that.
Yeah, we had our run-ins with the police many times. That was the thing about Holland too, is it was like, you know, as legal as it wasn't really legal. And so the cat and mouse things that we had to play all the time. I mean, that's the one thing that I actually, when I saw our smiley friend at the show in Portland, I was reminded where he was like, oh yeah, remember that time when the cops came and arrested you in the store? And I was like, oh yeah, I remember that. It was like when Matt left all the trim in the fucking freezer.
I don't want to talk about that one. That's too much stupidity for me.
Oh, stupidity is what it's all about. Well, basically,
okay, I got a better one. Okay,
I'll give a real quick synopsis on that one. So basically, we had a guy who worked for us who, when he made his bubble hash, he was really lazy, and he just would like run it, and then he would refreeze it, and then he would give it to another guy who was trying to work for us at the time, and then that guy would do a second run and do better than he would do with the first run. So I was getting a little suspicious already, like, what's going on here? And so he decided to leave this guy a big bag full of weed that was frozen in our freezer at our store.
A week after our landlord told us there's a good chance that all the shops on the street are going to get checked.
Yeah, so we ended up so we're there, and we think, and like they came in, and I was like, oh yeah, and I did the old song, and I had like weed in my bag and weed over here and weed under there, and I'm trying to like do the dance, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, put the bag over here while he's looking over there, and then everything's kind of cool. I think I'm good. And then all of a sudden, I see this guy come down, and he drops this big frozen block on my desk, like, ba ba ba. And I'm like, what is that? You know? And I was like, I don't know. What is that? I didn't even know what it was. And then he's like, yes, it's marijuana. Yes, it's big kilos, many kilos. You know, I was like, it's frozen. It's like, it's water, dude. What are you talking about? And then
they call me in, and then we both have to go to different cops in the same station.
It was the classic, like, stupidity of kind of all around in a sense. I mean, they kind of felt stupid.
But then they kind of messed up, and so everything got dropped. So. Yeah, they had to pay the lawyer fees too in the long run.
It was like there was the but anyway, it was like Mr. Smiley was telling me, because he's the one who came and got me out. Remember when I got you out of jail? I'm like, what?
Adam, I got a much better story.
Oh, I bet.
And it leads up to you get the plants being brought back into your apartment.
I did tell you.
So what had happened was we got this television studio that said, look, we want to borrow your plants for a TV show, which was about like two old comedians, like a father-son. It was like a famous sitcom in Holland, and they had a laundry shop in the Jordan. And they wanted to borrow our plants. So Adam's like, I got these old, like Dr. Seuss mother plants. And so we got a contract from them. And I was like, we got to get paid for this too, you know. So it's really official, you know. So we have an invoice and everything. And we called it like hemp props or something.
Hemp props. That was going to be my company, my new company. Hemp
so you weren't selling weed, you were leasing it.
I'm just leasing it just for video shoots. Just for video shoots.
So anyways, we get them the plants, and it completely fills their little studio laundromat, which is really in the middle of a neighborhood in Amsterdam. And so they did the filming, and then they're like, okay, you got to... And during the filming, they had all the local police were part of the show. So when we went there to pick it up, we rented a van, And we go there, and there's all these cops on our plants. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay. So we just open it. We get the people working in the studio to help fill up the van. And then we're driving down the street. I'll never forget. And Adam's like, I don't even really want these plants anymore. These plants I just want to get rid of them. And it was like really late at night. And so we're driving by the Heineken Brewery, museum, right? And he's like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just get rid of these. Can I say that?
Yes.
Oh, it's not a family show. Sorry. Okay, fuck it. So we take these giant Dr. Seuss mother plants and we drop them off right in front of the Heineken Brewery. So imagine in the morning, all the tourists get there. And they would just be like, dude, Amsterdam rocks, bro. I went to the Heineken Brewery, and they got weed plants in front. We didn't stop to see. I wish I could get some film of that.
Right. No, I actually forgot about that story.
So how this leads into the next one, mm-hmm. I'll pull it together for you.
All right.
So, so Adam was gone, and he was somewhere. I'm not going to say where. And we were growing in his little apartment. Nothing big, but right on off the Leitza plane. And he had some kid watching it that was just an idiot. The place caught on fire, and everything burned but the hemp shirt, which made it interesting because I had to, of course, when I heard that this thing was going down, Adam's in jail, I got to go down. So, oh God, here we go again. So I
just came back. What happened? I came home.
Yeah.
I went home, dropped my bags off, and then I went over to see Mo because I needed to do some bong hits, and he had some trichromes for me of some sage, and so I was like, I'm coming over. So I came over, I sat down, I took one bong hit, I was holding it, and phone rings, and then it's like, Doug, dude, you gotta come back right now. Your house is on fire. I'm like, what?
So anyways, I get down there, Adam's gone, but the firemen what they're amazed at is that even the TV had melted, but this hemp baseball jersey, which was our first hemp product, didn't burn. So the fire brigade was like, wow, what is this? I'm like, dude, it's hemp. And they just didn't, the whole story was crazy.
Even the numbers, because the numbers were all plastic and they all melted. Everything melted on it that was plastic.
Yeah, the label.
But the hemp
the polyester
survived.
label melted. So then we figured out, hey, hemp is fire retardant. So anyways, when someone's at the jailhouse, you got to keep bothering them to get them out because they can't really hold him for that long. I mean, what did he do? He just had some plants in the back, which they had taken out. So I was like, I get there, and Adam's Adam can talk, right?
That's why I have a show.
And so he's talking to him, and I'm like, come on, get him out, get him out, get him out, get him out. And then all of a sudden, Adam comes out with the police officers. He's talking to him, and somehow he convinced them. And I think I had the paper with the hemp props or something. We're like, oh, no, this is just like for our company that, we just do filming or whatever. And so all of a sudden, they put Adam in the van, and I'm not allowed to get close to him for some reason. I don't know. And then I see the cops from their little garage. This is across the street from the Milky Way, by the way. That's where that police station is. So it's already starting to get night. There's kids going to go to the concert or whatever. And then I see the police, and the police are like, this is crazy. They had never brought plants back to an apartment. So they put him in the back of the van. They drove Adam back. I walked around the corner, went there, and the police brought the plants back into the apartment.
Left me with a burnt out apartment and my plants. It was like, weird. And then
I think 2 days later, the police came to the shop. They're like, hey, guys.
You made a mistake.
Actually, we do have to go. We have your permission to go get the plants. We're like, oh, yeah, you can go there, but we already got rid of them.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and they actually came to Kate's where I was staying. Where are you staying at? I was like, oh, I'm staying with a friend right now. So they came to Kate's house. She had no plants. I was like, she has chinchillas.
Yeah.
She has a lot of chinchillas. She had 20 chinchillas. The cops were like, whoa, the hell's she doing with chinchillas? That was enough weirdness for them. But yeah, that was definitely one of those weirdest moments when he was walking in with cause I had a cop in front of me and a cop behind me and me all carrying plants in, and then Vinny came out and looked over the edge and was like, what's going on? And I was like, Vinny, go get your camera, but he couldn't get his camera fast enough.
Oh, no. I wish I had pictures of
it. It was pre-phone days when and not everybody had a phone with a fucking camera, but he was our photographer, so I was hoping he's gonna run in and get this all on film, but for some reason he couldn't pull it together. But it was just weird. It was like, that's so weird that just happened, and it was weird because, like I said, 2 days later they fucking were like, oh, we were supposed to not be able to give you those plants back because
we like plants.
Exactly.
They're gone.
They'd actually taken do you remember they took a piece of each one to test,
right, which they never did.
And then when I flowered them all out everywhere, they were all every single person that I'd given them to, because then we give some to Did we give?
I don't remember.
We gave some here and some there. One to one of your ex-girls, and then we gave one over here on this balcony and one over there. And it was like funny because a couple of them did pretty good, and I was like, topped by the cops. Like they came in and like took the perfect top at the right time because they were still little clones. And, like, they topped them. I was like, good job, guys. You guys did a really good job. You guys should maybe become fucking gardeners, you know? So since you stuck around for the last 8 years or whatever, since I've left 7 years, I mean, the mood has completely changed, right? I mean, Amsterdam is definitely not the weed-friendly place that we thought it was. It was not as even friendly when we thought it was friendly. We pretended it was friendly.
The biggest problem happened when they decided it was like this Operation 1020 or whatever, and it was
which is our zip code,
the zip code of the area, and so they said, okay, no coffee shops within a certain distance of schools, but in the case of say Homegrown Fantasy, it was across a main street, and there was a little school. You couldn't even see it from the front of the coffee shop. And they do have very strict regulations against minors coming in. They ID everyone. So it's not an issue, but they made it into an issue. And what it did was, for instance, the Warmerstraat, which is kind of like the CD, the original street of Amsterdam, where there was the most concentration of coffee shops, they all had to go. And that made like maybe a really shitty one just on the edge super popular, even though the quality is not that good. So they cut down the number. They had a lot of pressure, as they always do, from like France and Germany. And so what they do, they go, okay, well, we'll succeed a little bit on our laws. And so what that did was it cut down the number of coffee shops, and then the existing coffee shops just have too much business. And, you know, you just have this situation where you don't have a legal supply. You can sell it, but you can't transport it and you can't grow it. And so hopefully those laws will change going forward. But the whole scene is, definitely changed. It was more fun. It's definitely gentrified the city a lot, which is nice in some ways. The restaurants are actually better than they used to be.
Yeah, I mean, we had some pet peeves there back in the day. But.
Yeah, like it used to be when I first moved there that the grocery stores would close at 5 o'clock in Amsterdam. So imagine you working. And then Thursdays was the only day that it was open late.
Late night Thursdays.
And you were like, you'd go there, and you're like, I'm here an hour before, and there's no beer, there's no bread, there's no nothing. You're like, this sucks. And they would all be like, yes, this is the law. And then, so imagine on the weekends.
And then they have late shops.
Which are double, triple the price with just nasty food. There's one good one in the West.
Yeah, you had to drive all the way to the other side of town just to get the one.
Which was only double priced.
Yeah, and it was bad too. There was mice running around. It was nasty. Yeah. It was a funky, nasty kind of like
every neighborhood in Amsterdam had one permit for a night shop. So no matter how clean or dirty that family was, they had a night shop. There was one. I lived in a neighborhood where it was like you didn't get anything that was not in a can or a bottle. No way, because it was just so dirty. And then the other ones were nice.
Yeah, and that was the thing about living there too, is that we sacrificed. Like, you know, Doug comes from California. When you compare California to Amsterdam, like most people who came from California would last a week, you know what I mean? And then they'd be like, I want to go home and get in my big car and drive around and do this, you know what I mean? They couldn't handle the idea that you had to ride a bike. And, you know.
Well, the best thing about Amsterdam back then, too, was that you could go out at night on your bike. Everything was close. Mm-hmm. And you just had these posses of people going from, like, you know, one bar, one coffee shop to another squat party to somewhere. And it was so weird and so cool at the same time.
Well, you know, that was the thing as an American. I remember when I first got there, I was like, I don't have to pay car insurance. Like, this is awesome. I don't have to, like, think about parking. Oh, this is awesome. But then at a certain point, too, my Americanism, you know, kicked in, and I'm like,
you have to have a car.
I need a fucking car, dude. I was like, after like 2 years of being there. Well, the thing is, I was a grower, and so I needed a car just to pick up soil, pick up this, pick up that, get to here, get to there. And then I realized, like, you know, so that the original, like, say, I think for me it was about 3 years until or maybe even less, 2 years till I got a car. But it was crazy for those first 2 years. I was like,
oh, and then when we got cars, that's when the real problem started.
Oh my God. How much money did we pay? How much money did we pay?
Oh my God. In fact, Victor wanted to name the gray area. You guys probably know the gray area. Originally, they were going to call it the clamp.
Yeah.
Because you didn't just get a ticket. You got a freaking clamp on your wheel. You couldn't drive a boot.
Yeah.
Right? And then to buy the boot off, you had to get across town. Sometimes there wasn't even a metro stop, or it was late. And you had to get there quick, because if it get the next day, it's going to cost you even more. So you're going all over town just to get this boot taken off, and it was expensive.
Oh, it was a nightmare, dude. It was such a nightmare. It was like, you got that, your day fucked. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you had to put change in these machines, and if you were like, and sometimes the machines would be broken,
and you have to walk
and then you
4 blocks to a machine to get to like the one that works to get back, and then they have a clamp on your car. You're like, I was walking to the thing to get the thing. Dude, we had frustrations. The thing about Amsterdam is it was already overpopulated. When we were there, like when we started, it was already like tight. You know what I mean? Now it must be just
real estate prices went crazy.
And then from the clamp, another good memory, Doug. So the gray area, which many people are familiar with, we had a few different names. We had one of them was going to be Vic's Vapor Bar, which I thought was a good one because that would have been smart and ahead of its, because we were like vaporized.
That would have freaked out the Dutch though if you said vapor at that time.
Maybe, but and they would not have understood the humor, because that was the whole problem. Is a lot of times we were bringing our American humor to the plate, and people would just go like, It was like, man, if this was the States, they would have got it. They would have been like, yeah, that's fucking funny. Vic's Vapor Bar, like the Vic's Vapor Rub, I get it. But no, the clamp, which I forgot that one. The original concept of that was, if you got clamp and you bring in your ticket, we give you free coffee, right? Which is a good deal. Yeah. You know, you would know that there's a coffee shop that gives you free coffee the minute you have one of these stupid clamps that's going to cost you over $100. You know what I mean? So you might as well go redeem your free coffee while you're there. And then what I wanted to do, because this is when Victor owned it, and it was like basically me and Vic's spot as far as like, what are we going to do with this place? And so what I was telling him to do, which we never did, of course, but it would have been a good one, I said, if you put a TV up with cops on, right, all day long, just nothing but cops, because Americans love that like thing, and you have guys dressed up like cops, and you sell donuts, and you sell donuts, and you sell donuts, and you just make fun of cops the whole day. It'd be Cops Donut Shop. It would be great, dude. So before it was either going to be Vic's Vapor Bar, the clamp, the clamp, or it was going to be the Cops Donut Shop. I had 3 different ideas thrown at that time.
I think the gray area is a good name.
Well, the gray area, even funnier part, which I told this on the show, so now it's not as unknown of a fact. But when Victor went out to get all the paint, right? He came back with like 9 shades of gray because it was cheap. And I was like, dude, now what? It was and then that was before we had a name, and it literally came from the paint, you know what I mean? Because he was like, just call it the gray area, and I was like, dude, that's actually really smart, because then it was like made all sense. And then the even funnier part was we had when he very first opened, it was like in that weird zone where people didn't quite get it. Old people would come in there and think it was a senior citizen coffee shop. And it's just the gray area.
Is this the geriatric area?
So yeah, they had always a good. I mean, that was another one of those deals where it was just like the cup, where it was like handed to these guys on a fucking silver platter, because when Vic left, he didn't leave like on a good note. He basically grabbed all his stuff in a hockey bag and walked out and went to Switzerland and left all the bills and all the bullshit. And then his brother came back all pissed off at us, thinking that we did it. And I'm like, dude, your brother is 10 years older than me, first of all, and the fact that he got all strung out because he fucking hurt himself and didn't fucking go and take care of himself properly is not my fault. You know what I mean? Now he's in Switzerland. I didn't even know it. I don't know where he was at that point.
Well, no, I mean, back then, I think the gray area was sold for like 15,000 guilders.
No, yeah, it was exactly what he paid for it.
And then it became, it was really because of the High Times Cannabis Cup and this attention that the value of coffee shops and having that license just skyrocketed the values. And you still see it, because, like, for instance, in Europe, whereas Spain might be more legal, they still don't have coffee shops. So you still see a ton of tourism. And what's funny about it is that there's a lot of tourism that you wouldn't expect. Like, for instance, the Rye is a big white convention center, like any convention center around the world. And yet a lot of conventions are there. You know they're there because a lot of the people would rather go there because they know they can go to coffee shops.
Sure. They can go to Brussels, or you can go to Amsterdam.
What are you going to
Amsterdam? We'll do Amsterdam.
Because you figure at that convention, even if it's just 20% of the people that are smokers, you got 20% more people. And they're happy. So it still has this draw. And I've never seen the tourism like it is now in Amsterdam. Because they go there for the historical part, the beautiful part of being on the water, and then the coffee shops. It's all together. And so, like, tourism has doubled in the last 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I mean, it was one of those pretty easy things. Every time someone would call me up, they'd go like, hey, was thinking of coming out in May. And I'd be like, cool, come on out. I didn't even like question it because I always knew that they take care of themselves. We don't have to like do anything because they've already come out 3 or 4 times. We know exactly. Okay, so Misty and Chad are coming into town. That means there's going to be some weird fetish party thing going down. And it was like because the timing was always the same every year. It's like certain people would come in. And Colorado was crazy when I first moved here. It was like that 2009 to 2012, exactly the same. I was like, oh my god, dude, I'm going to relive my entire life because everyone comes for Red Rocks to go to shows. Yeah. There's like a certain draw besides the weed, and as long as the weed is part of it, then it makes it interesting. And then, of course, being the first, 2012, once we knew that anybody over 21 can come, you don't have to be a medical patient. I thought at that point it was going to be like gangbusters, and it's exactly when they put the brakes on everything, like every party.
So you can't. So explain it to me because I don't know.
Well, in Colorado, the thing is that there's no public consumption, so you can't smoke anywhere. Okay. There's no legal places. So they have it exactly ass backwards, right? So and the funny part is that Holland has it too extreme on the not protecting the grower. There's no legal way to produce your stuff.
But the smoker
there's no testing. There's no clean nothing. No clean certificate or anything like that. But plenty of places to smoke. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's no shortage of places to smoke. Even if they clamp down and made less places, there's still hundreds of places, right? Whereas here, there's thousands of bars that you can go drink at. And the original thing was there was a Proposition 300 which came out, and it was trying to address that, and they had a pretty good thing. It was going to be that any restaurant or bar that has a smoking section can have cannabis in the smoking section. So you can't. So it's like, cool. That's huge. That means any restaurant that you can go to that has a little like outdoor patio, you go outside, you smoke a joint, you come back in, boom, you're good. Fucking, they struck that like right before they actually voted on it. They were like, well, and if you have an alcohol license, you're excluded. So that just kills every place.
Yeah, of course.
You're like, well, so what? You're telling me they have to make a choice now between one or the other? And it was like, no one's going to do that. You know what I mean? Who is going to lose their alcohol license?
No one will.
Nobody. So that was the problem there. Right out of the gate, you basically had to like be a cannabis-friendly place, and that's all you're going to be, which is still a good thing. I would still think it's worth doing, but they tightened the clamp even further because it was like the same school zone problem that you have in Amsterdam, combined with the every town having, every area, every neighborhood having its own vote. So you'd have to go through the same process as getting an alcohol license, even though you can't have alcohol.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, so you're going to let people smoke it. They're going to make it sound as worse as they can. You know what I mean? Whereas it's like, who wants to go through all that? And at the end, you're not allowed to sell food.
Really?
You're not allowed. So you can't do the reverse. You can't like open up a smoking place and then serve food. You'd have to be a restaurant that has the restaurant license, then apply for the other part after the fact. So it's all kind of stupid. So you basically have to go out of your way to like partner up with somebody who's like already doing that side of it all, lose half of your thing, and you still can't charge for cannabis, obviously. The membership thing was also very convoluted. Like it had to be like, you had to actually go to members meetings and be proved. You know, there's all this bullshit like nobody would do. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, you want to be a member? Okay, well, make sure every 3 months you come down for 2 hours and you have to sign this thing. No one is going to do that. You know what I mean? So they kind of made it like the tax stamp back in the day, where it was like, we got a tax stamp. Well, you can't get it, but you got to have it, but we can't give it to you. You know, like really, they just pigeonholed it into a way that no one's going to really want to do it.
And how is it in Nevada now?
Nevada is going to be the next thing, and it's my prediction, which I might as well say it on the show again for the 5th time, but it is going to be the next Amsterdam. Like, there's no reason to go to Amsterdam if you can go to a casino, watch a Dutch DJ, aging Dutch DJ, which is all you're going to get to see in Holland anyway, some 50-year-old Dutch guy, woo, you know what I mean? So you can go see an aging Dutch DJ, drink Heineken, simulate rain. You can have spray outside. It would all, woo, I'm getting red in Nevada. This is awesome.
Oxygen too, right? Oxygen.
It would actually, do something, and then have a boat trip, just like the other boat trips they have around there. Go to the red light, eat some crappy food out of a wall, go stay in a shitty hotel, and that's it. You're done. Done deal. I mean, it would pretty much it is a casino. If you think about Amsterdam, it's like a living in a casino.
Right.
It's just a little
spread out,
but it's pretty much the same thing. It's just like. They would have to go with the old Amsterdam, not the new Amsterdam.
You're talking like a theme park.
I'm saying that. Well, you already have.
Adam's thinking again.
You already have Paris, right? So we already have Paris. We have New York. We just need Amsterdam. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
That's true. That's true.
It's going to happen.
But is that...
And Heineken is like your perfect sponsor.
Right, but are they going to allow weed smoking
at
the casino?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, because they can do whatever the fuck they want in casino world, and they're already figuring it out. And the thing is, if you think about it, I mean, really, what is that? That's it. That's what Amsterdam is. It's weed, fucking hookers, weed, and techno. Hookers, weed, techno.
Hookers, weed.
That's pretty much. That's all.
Repeat.
And mushrooms.
Shitty food and mushrooms and repeat.
Well, no, I mean, Adam, it's really nice in the summer when you go out on a boat.
I know.
It's beautiful.
Boats. I heard the boats are all terrible now as far as them. Everybody has to have these little medallions, and they're like,
I don't know. Jim's still got his boat. He's got 3 electric boats.
Talk to Willie if you want to have some bad vibes on the boat. He's, dude, the boat thing's over. It's forget about it. He said that they'll come after you.
Remember James?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he quit his job as a boat designer.
Nice.
And he took his boat, put an electric engine in it, got 2 more, and he's doing tours. And he's going to do some with Dompy that are a little bit more weed-oriented.
That's nice.
So,
I mean, no, that is the thing about
the name.
That is the thing about Amsterdam is if you had a boat or access to a boat in the summer, it definitely made it that much more enjoyable. But at the same time,
well, it was also kind of the birth of the HoodLamb jacket because
Tell us about the birth.
Cold.
Tell us about the birth.
The birth. Was,
I got everybody primed up a little bit where I was like, I told everybody already that we have Doug and I stand on opposite ends of the design scale. Like Doug is surf guy, I am secret pocket guy. Yeah. That's pretty much it. And then Doug's he's all about the warmth and the getting out of that cold ass water. Like this guy surfs. Tell them about where you surf because
we surf in Holland, which in the winter sometimes it's snowing on the beach, and then you go out in the water. And so I'll tell about the birth of the HoodLamb jacket. We had
in your mind.
Ati was working for it was her boyfriend Mark, and then she made a jacket for her daughter who was a baby, and it was hemp on the outside and fake fur on the inside, and I was just like, wow, that looks like almost like an Ugg boot in a jacket. And so then that's when we got her to make the first HoodLamb jacket. And I was like, okay, perfect for after surfing. Back then I actually wasn't even surfing. I was just cold because it was Amsterdam in the winter. And then later it became something really big for all the surfers because it's perfect for that. And so one of the differences that it had that no other jacket had was we put the fake fur, or if other people would use real fur, in the arms. And they say you don't do that because it makes your arms look fat, especially for ladies. But it looked good, and people loved it as soon as they tried it on. So that's kind of the birth of the jacket, was this really cheap, bad fake fur with hemp on the outside on a baby who later actually worked for us in our store. So it's like it's a funny full circle.
Right, and then on top of that, we made the guys version, and then we made the girls version, which was like literally shorter. It was like there was hardly any.
Well, it was cut in. It was cut in.
A little bit cut in. Yeah.
Our jacket, our original HoodLamb looked a little bit like South Park. It was just this square, simple thing, running around Amsterdam trying to make it. But the demand was there, and it didn't go away. And so we just kept making more and more of them. And I'll never forget the day. So I used to have to drive all over the place to dye the fabric, find this, get the zippers, everything. And this was before. It was right when we started with the jackets. We were making baseball jerseys, and then Adam called me. Dude, I got this idea. You gotta. And I was just on the way to meet the girl who was doing our design, and that's when he came up with the idea for the paper dispenser. So, which is like you use the fabric around the papers.
That was pretty much. I mean, it was a bite in the sense of like I took it from that Puff. Oh, remember that? Or that Puff Boy lounge. Remember Puff Boy stuff?
Oh yeah, correct.
So they had sent me a shirt with a pack of Rizzlers in behind plastic, like in case of emergency break glass mentality. And I was like, well, that's not going to work because if you wash it, it's going to get all fucked up. So then I cut a slit in it and I made a paper dispenser out of it. I was like, oh, look, it's a paper dispenser, And then it was like, ooh, now it's cool. And then I was like, and then I was like trying to figure it out. And then it's funny because actually Marky B says that he invented the paper dispenser. So it's like,
I remember you calling me.
And it was kind of like, so we had this little like, well, I'm pretty sure it was that shirt, and then that. I think what happened was him and I were doing it like it was one of those things. It was
I was going to Ati,
and then
I was going to Ati when you called me, and then I had to get the patterns or something, and then I sat there explaining it with you and her, and Mark was probably there. So it was a collaboration.
It was, no, I mean, we give Mark 100%. I mean, when it came to the design, because he was actually had his own clothing company.
He had to do maybe the technical end of it.
Yeah,
so,
and he had his own clothing company called XXX Clothing at the time. So he was pretty much further down the rabbit hole of wasting money and time in the clothing industry before we could get involved. Like, this is how you do it. Let me show you. I'll do it.
Who did the logo? The HoodLamb.
Tell them about the logo.
Okay, so
we've thought about this too. We thought about everything.
Yeah, so we were surfers, and we got joined by Mark Plattenkamp, which is a kid who was surfing and he liked the jacket. And then we had kind of a competition between logos. Anna Marie came up with a snowflake.
Here.
That was a pot leaf.
Oh, look, way
back. And then we had this wacky surfer artist named Heel, is his name. You remember him?
Yeah.
And so he kind of came up with this and then redefined it. A lot of people don't know which way it looks.
Or what it is. Well, first of all, what the hell is it? Second of all, which way is it looking?
It's a silhouette of someone looking out and has a HoodLamb jacket on. Now, some people see the hood on one side and the face on one side. Other people see it flipped the other way.
Well, we all joked that it was a penguin first.
Don't tell Mark that.
And then it turned into like, you could tell that you were just putting it in people's minds, and they were like, yeah, it's a penguin. I see the penguin. They didn't even see it anymore. It was like, it just became, but I did see it in the beginning. It was kind of floating. His arms were kind of hanging backwards, and it was floating.
And then that was more emphasized because we found this photographer who's like a famous penguin photographer. And
we had the penguin thing.
Yeah, and then we got him what did we do? We gave him a jacket to wear, and then he gave us stock footage of these penguins.
And we
which
photoshopped
we used in advertising.
We photoshopped them wearing HoodLambs because penguins. Penguins definitely need to wear HoodLamb in the Antarctic because they haven't quite evolved, enough blubber or whatever. But yeah, it was definitely like, because we have another logo which we were running with at the same time, parallelish, and that was the snowflake leaf one, which in my mind was like the stronger logo because it was about winter, and it's like we're a winter brand, and this is where the schism goes, right? Because Doug's a surfer, he's an Amsterdam surfer. This is not a normal surfer. Surfers are normally people in warm places that are out there surfing, but for some reason Doug took the idea of the Amsterdam surf as being this global thing that is covered the entire planet, and everybody surfs in the cold weather. And so we had this kind of like, I would say like different approach from our way of bringing the brand down, and that's kind of where I think it was beneficial in the long run, but it was definitely counterproductive for us sometimes, because that was our other big thing, is that me and Doug, we had seed company, we were doing a retail store, now we're doing wholesale clothing, and it's just like the list kind of going on and on and on. And of course, Doug being on the guy that when we started the company, it was Dion, Mark Graff, and me. We both worked for Sensi. Yeah, so then he saw this sort of bigger picture of doing. He was more of a revolutionary, right? So his whole thing was like, and Doug and I. Interestingly enough, like when we first met, it was like we went to these meetings like for nothing really. It was just like a meeting of like, it was like being in college again. And Doug actually went to college. Obviously, I didn't go to college. It's pretty damn obvious. And like I was explaining before he came on the show, I was like, we always considered Doug was like face, like in the A-team. You know what I mean? And then I mean, I don't know who we all were, but definitely Dion thought he was fucking. What's his name?
The Colonel?
Yeah, he would think he was, but none of us believed it.
There was no B.A. Baracus.
Yeah. Well, no, we didn't really have a B. We had a B.A. We had a B.A. No, we had a Barrack. We had a guy named Barrack who worked for us, and he became B.A. Baracus.
He didn't like that name.
He hated that name, of course. He actually came up with the name Hempworks, though. That was a good one.
Yeah, I remember that.
He came up with the name Hempworks. So, but in general, when we started the company, it was like Doug actually went to college, and he took the worst major he could, which was real estate right before the bubble. Finance, right before the bubble in 87, or was it? Or
92.
Oh, yeah, later, whatever.
No, I think it was 92 I graduated. 91, something like that.
And then you were on your way to back to snowboard.
Austria.
Because you'd already been there, right?
Yeah, I was in Austria as a chef after working for NBC in Barcelona when the Dream Team was there and all that, which was pretty cool.
Oh, Dream Team.
And the boxing venue. And
Gave up the Dream Team to start this new Dream Team.
So then we got the job to do the High Times Cannabis Cup. And so that's when we opened the first hemp store in Europe, and we did the what we spoke about earlier with the judging. And so when we first started, we were in this big building called the CIA, Cannabis in Amsterdam. You can see Adam with the T-shirt on. And I remember that I was talking about Hits from the Bong with Be Real, and so he actually put on our T-shirt and wore it on stage, and back then, man, he was jumping around and singing, and I'm like, I made it. I was like, this is going to be on the front page of the newspaper. They're coming to the store tomorrow. I'm ready. We've got T-shirts, but they're not like Americans. Like the Dutch are super different, man. It was like in America, they'd be like, what's that T-shirt? Everyone would want it, right? And he was giving us shout-outs, everything. We were like, when he would come around the side, like, say this, say CIA. Okay, he does, right? Okay, we got it, right? Next day, not one person came.
It was like that for everything. Like even when I did my latest, did the latest keynote speech, and it was about hemp, and I pulled up our Forbes article. You know what I mean? That's exactly how I started it. I was like, look at this, 1996. This is literally 21 years ago. You could have a baby from this point on, and it'd be ready to come out to the bar with you. We didn't make a dime on that fucking article. Like,
well, no, but that was what was interesting about that was. This,
so don't think you made it once you get into some
major
thing. Like
the work is there no matter what.
It doesn't matter.
A few people get lucky, but Forbes magazine, they sent over a guy, and he was doing it about prostitution, I think, and also and how the approach that the Dutch do to cannabis, and we happen to be the hemp store. And so it was just funny because all of a sudden there's a picture in Forbes magazine with me and Adam. Like a pretty big picture, like
huge, whole page.
Yeah, and we gave a little bit, and then the guy writes me a letter, and he's like, "I'm sorry, it got edited down. I didn't get to put a lot on the story, but for us, it was great." And then the guy got fired because they got more negative response to that Forbes article than they've ever gotten.
Do you remember who it was?
Yeah, I've got his letter.
Yeah,
Richard.
Do you remember? He's the number one. He's like one of the number one best-selling authors now. He's huge.
Oh, cool! He's such a nice guy. He wrote us a letter.
And now I have to remember his name because it's like
I have it on the wall.
He did the Botany of Desire, Pollock.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's literally like written the most like people like, oh my god, Michael Pollan. Yeah, so that was one of the and he sent us that article, that letter, which was like, sorry guys, they fucked up, and it's like such a cool letter.
Yeah,
we actually framed it for a while there.
Yeah, no, I still have it framed.
Yeah, so that was actually like the first interview we ever had, like by a real professional sort of person, and all of a sudden later, when I'm looking on, like if you look up Michael Pollan now, it's like, wow, this guy's doing TED Talks everywhere.
Did he get like a Pulitzer or something for Omnivore's Dilemma?
Yeah, he got a Pulitzer Prize, and he's like award-winning author, and just like kills it. Like, and he's a food guy too.
Okay.
So his whole deal is like he's really a foodie, and he's getting to the bottom of all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he was like, for me, out of all the people who've ever interviewed me, I'm like, that guy is top of my fucking list of like, I'm so glad that actually happened.
So what did happen in our favor was when Snoop Dogg wore our jacket on MTV. Back then, MTV was huge. You know, people used to watch it, not just for the
people used to watch it. That thing.
Because it usually actually be about music.
Well, not just teenagers. Yeah, so it was Snoop Dogg traveling around Europe. And he happened to be in Amsterdam and get a HoodLamb from us.
And it was cold as fuck.
And it was cold. So he had it so he was literally dancing in our jacket on the streets of Paris, I think, in one shot. And he's in Berlin in another shot. That one really worked.
It did.
That one was like, because Snoop was huge, you know, he still is.
Well, he's pretty big these days too. So yeah. It's one of those things where it definitely resonated for the longest time.
Yeah.
And it sticks in most people's minds. Like, there's a lot of people who don't know much about us, but they do know that we got a jacket to Snoop at one point, like that, a bulletproof jacket at that.
And that was later. Yeah, we made him a.
Oh yeah, first it was just that free one. First it was the white one, and on MTV when he was doing it too, it was a couple. We had some classic shots, like him getting like with his hair out when it was just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Gigantically like brushed out, dancing like he was saying, and like cruising around and going and buying Mickey D's and going or like dancing in the car and fucking buying McDonald's and thinking
all in our jacket. It was great.
And it was like, oh man, every single shot wearing the jacket, and people just started calling. And yeah, it was definitely.
And we were actually talking last night about something else that we did, which was Adam created, was the video bong hits.
The Trichrome Challenge.
The Trichrome Challenge, yes. And so Mo would be doing the music in the background. We had this chair, and then we had this map of Amsterdam in the back. And it was in a quiet little corner, and so they could choose the music. And we had like guys from the Beastie Boys, House of Pain, Willie Nelson, Woody Harrelson, you name it. We all had them doing video bong hits.
Yeah, and it was, the thing is, when we were doing it too, it was like
It brought everyone in.
it was like kind of hard to ask people to videotape them smoking weed at that time, because now everyone don't give a fuck, whatever, bro. But at that time, it was like, and the funny part is that even though it was hard to get people to do it, they all kind of had this like. It was like they got their cherry broken or something. Like, yeah, that was pretty cool. Like, they're part of the. Now they're part. Now they're part. You know what I mean? They actually they went to Amsterdam. They stood right in front of a camera and did a bomb.
Out the closet.
It was a lot of that, and it was it was like funny because we didn't have any editing at all, so it was just like shot to shot to shot to shot to shot. And for me, the even funnier part when I actually watched it. When I could watch it more recently, was the music in the background was interesting because it was like all this different hip hop, and it was like you could tell like 3 different people were like on the same track, and then they would skip to another one. It would go back, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I remember, and like it would bring me back to the moment because of the music combined with everything. But yeah, we had Misty Rain, and we had like people doing topless bong hits, and that was like whoa. Then everybody wanted to see that. We had girls. Fucking blowing back into it because they didn't know what they were doing. And
I drank a little bong water on mine.
Shooting one. We had one guy with snots coming out of his nose and up.
Eagle Bill.
Oh yeah. There's another guy we could talk.
Neat. He did the.
Oh yeah. He did the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or whatever.
No,
no.
Easy Rider.
Oh, Easy Rider. That's right. Yeah.
Scene. Yeah.
And we had them all. We had them all come through, and early '90s. Were pretty bad here, and everybody was really excited to be there, and that was one of the things we talked about last night too. Again, we touched on so many things, but Eagle Bill, if anybody out there listens to the show, came to Amsterdam in the early '90s up till the mid 2000s. I think he was there. When did he die? Like 2008 or something like that? Or,
it's been a while.
It's been a while. It's been about at least 5, 6 years, 7 years. But I was working at Sensi at the time when he first arrived, and so I see this guy with a giant cane with a giant like walking stick come like
an Indian,
and he comes in, he's got like one bum leg, and he kind of rolls in, and he's like, oh hallelujah, I'm at the motherland, and he comes in and he's kissing the floor at the store, and I'm shit. Can I help you, sir? You know what I mean? And he was just like, oh man, and he started going off, and I knew within like 10 minutes that this guy was going to get eaten alive in Amsterdam. Like he was talking to everybody. I was like, you can't talk to everybody about.
Once they get to know you, then they're much more open. But they're not the type that they're not like Americans.
And so he kind of came in and was like, well, going off. And so I was like, you can come stay at my house because I don't even think you'll make it to the like. You get to that hotel, they're going to be like, dude, this guy was nuts. And so he ended up being like an ambassador to vaporizing, and it was like one of those things where in people's mind, there's like a lot of people who think he like invented it. There's all sorts of bullshit out there, and I'll be like, no, I'm pretty sure I remember.
No, I remember exactly. Yeah, it was this guy from Santa Cruz, this little mousy guy, and back then, a lot of growers were a lot quieter. They would actually come out of themselves when they were in Amsterdam, but some of them kept to themselves. And this guy, I remember because he had a bong and he had 2 screens, and somehow he attached them, and he was going to do the hemp milk or something with that girl. Mm-hmm. And then we had a paint stripper, and then we started doing it with the right pipe. And then Eagle Bill was like, "Oh my God, this is my calling."
It was all about the bowl, having the right size bowl, distance from the weed, and to be able to fit that paint stripper inside of it. Which that was it. It was the whole secret was in that part.
Well, no, they would it was remote. The paint stripper was still just like
it would fit in there.
But you had to hold the bud in there because it would blow away. So you needed 2 screens. Mm-hmm. And that's what I remember. And then Eagle Bill's like, oh, coming. And I'm just like, and he was like burning himself and everything.
Yeah, I remember.
I
remember Doug kicking him out. That's what I remember. I remember, get out of here, old man. You're going to burn down the place.
No, I was just like, go get your own pipe. I'd already just taken him on a day tour of all the coffee. So I was doing for High Times, I was mapping out the coffee shops because Amsterdam, what I figured out was that it's really easy to get lost there. Now you're a stoner in wintertime. So what's the most important thing is to have a good map of the city with the coffee shops that you're going to. So I had mapped out the whole city and like done little previews of the coffee shop so people could see a picture of the outside of the coffee shop, what they were entering, and their judge book. So then when Eagle Bill came, he was like, great. So I got to take him around, and him being who he was, like, hey, you guys, the greatest, I'm going to start this. Oh my gosh. So that was after a full day of this guy. He's a great guy, but he can be a little bit much.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, he was over. He was definitely.
So I just wanted him to go get his own pipe on his own, and then he could come back, and then I'll teach you. But until you had the right pipe, you're just going to burn your fingers, So then he did, and then he and about 10 other people all invented the vaporizer. But I was like, guys, I remember the guy that taught us. I don't know if he invented it.
No,
all I know is I
don't
remember
think
that's the
he
first
did
guy that I ever saw do it.
I remember the first ones, like the little desktop ones. They were just little soldering guns.
Yeah, well, that was when they actually manufactured one. This is like still at that point in time where you had to like understand what you're trying to do first of all, then have the right tools to do it, which would be get a glass blower to make you this one piece.
Right, you
get
needed
the paint
the
stripper.
right.
You got to know that. You got to have all that kind of lined up, and then what happened with Eagle Bill is that he had this one giant, sort of huge blown glass thing where he would, get you to come do it, and you'd stand there and take it. And it was like a lot of times for people, it was the first time ever. And what we all figured out as smokers is that we don't really like vaporizers like pretty quickly. Like it was like we did it for like maybe a month, and after that we were like, we're all over it because first of all you have all this weed everywhere, like all this half burnt weed, kind of like filling up trays and things and whatever, and what are we gonna do with it? I don't know. Nobody, couldn't really throw it away because it's like whatever, but you don't ever do anything.
Adam, now that something just reminded me, because now that dabs are so popular, the first dab that I ever saw, or similar, is this old kind of squirrely guy that came out of his
King
shell.
of THC, he called himself.
Right, and he came with these little tiny vials that looked like a tiny toothpaste.
It was like an Anbesol.
Right, and he was like, I've got this thing, and I'm coming out, and they're going to be $10,000 each, and whatever. And we're like, yeah, whatever, dude. And then he had a burning ember, and he had it was either glass or metal pen.
It was glass, I think. He actually had a glass,
and he would
flipped over.
Put a little
pipe.
goo on it, and then we had a glass tube, and then you put it over the burning ember. And to me, that was the first dab I ever saw.
It was the first dab.
In 93.
Yeah, 93, and it was. The funny part about it is
we knocked out Rob Clark.
Yeah, and then Rob
he was like so excited.
Yeah.
He did one too many. All of a sudden we look, and there's Rob falling backwards.
So like literally knocked him out.
And that was the first time he said ever. He was fine.
Well, the crazy part too is that like that guy, I mean, he was definitely one of those people who was a slight soul sucker a little bit. Like he really wanted you to tell him you're higher than you've ever been in your life. That's all he wanted. Like if he could get you to say that, because he'd ask you over and over again, "Are you higher than you've ever been in your life?" I'd be like, "No way, man, hit me again." And so he kind of got like I was his challenge. You know what I mean? He had to like, but I remember distinctly when the first time he came. It was so good.
It was BHO, right?
It was BHO.
It was super strong.
It was BHO, but he didn't tell anybody.
It was clear, and we didn't know what the hell how he did it.
And I mean, it was a little amber, and it still had the goop. But it was the funny part about it was it had a real mango kind of background to it, like a really nice, like ooh, that tastes amazing, right? And then the second time he came, like a year later, he had some funky shit. Because I remember he gave me some, and I was all, "This is not the same thing." But what was also funny was that Rob Clark. I remember sitting in a room with that guy, me, Rob, and a few other people. We had Watson, Rob, me, and like two other people, and we were drilling this guy. Like, okay, so how'd you make this? Is it? And we asked him, "Is it a solvent?" He said, "No," which lied right out of the gate. Right, so he lied right out of the gate. So we're like, okay, and like Rob's like, "Is it hexane? Is it this? Is it that?" He's like trying everything, and we never said butane because none of us thought of butane, and so it was like he was telling the truth, but he lied right out of the gate by saying it wasn't a solvent to begin with. It was like, it is a solvent. Maybe it's not a normal solvent that you're used to using, but it's a solvent. And so that guy 100% was, if not the guy, he was the first I ever saw. That was 93. Yeah, so. He was definitely one of the guys because it was like, and then by it took a long time by 96, by 96 we had the honeybee. Yeah. But then nobody purged. Yeah. Nobody understood the purging. All they understood was double boil purge, simple, make it stop. But nobody did any kind of vacuum purging, and it kind of like I think because there was no rigs yet at that point, so there was no way to smoke it. And you remember like when we were trying to figure out how to smoke all this stuff, like we had like made a bowl. I made a bowl that had no hole at the bottom, but had two holes on the side at the top, so you could go in and put. Basically, we had the Fedor. Remember the Fedors? Yeah, but his technique was great. Oh yeah, with that first amount, I know. It was crazy. It was like this clear amber thing. We never seen anything. Well, what he did was he used a sewing needle or a knitting needle. He had a knitting needle. He had a knitting needle, and he put a little bit on the edge of a knitting needle. And then you had to hold your tube right above the burning ember. And the ember was same charcoal that you use in a hookah. So it's a hookah charcoal on a
Self-igniting.
on a plate.
Yeah.
On a
So-
plate. Wait till it's nice and gray, and then you'd hold the pipe over it, and he would drop the dab basically onto the hot ember. Boom.
No, he kept it on the end of the needle.
Yeah.
And then just brought it close enough.
Yeah, it would melt. It was touch it. Just
and then the smoke would just start coming up.
And and so in a way, it was like for sure the beginning of that whole thing. And we had characters upon. I mean, the thing about us is we created a space that literally was like a beacon was going out into the world.
You had mentioned the map thing. Like Adam has mentioned this before, like a prehistoric weed maps thing. But wasn't it like going on continually, and not just in relation to cups and stuff?
No, there was actually an English guy
map.
with a map.
You mean I'm talking about the map in the beginning?
The pinpoint.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So what we did, we had two maps because that was our whole thing. Is that it's so easy to get lost in Amsterdam, especially trying to find coffee shops. So
a friend of ours made a thing called Get Lost Amsterdam.
Yeah, exactly. But so we had two maps. We had the one which was an old historical map of Amsterdam, which was behind the video bong hit where you were getting filmed when you did the video bong hit. And then we printed up. We went to like the copy center and printed color as big as we could, and then we pinned where all the coffee shops were, because that's what you just see people in Amsterdam. They're all lost.
And we did, we pinned all the ones that we thought were good, and then we would call some of those and check. In the beginning, we were like, all right, we're going to go to every single one, and we're going to like figure out what they have on the menu. And the funny part about it too is that, now it's just like pick up your phone, you go to there was like no internet, but there was no internet. You know what I mean? So we were like, it's like, it's kind of the same. Like I'll be standing at a Weed Maps party, and I'll be like, oh, I invented Weed Maps. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I invented Weed Maps. They're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, I had a big map, and I had coffee shops on it, and I would tell people where to go.
And you follow it, and you find weed.
And then people would go and buy weed at the shop. So it's pretty much the same service, just like 30 or 25 years earlier. But in general, we kind of touched a lot.
And we put where the good munchies, the falafel place or whatever was also.
Well, it was also an extension of the fact that when we did the cup, like part of the deal was we created a map in the book, and then we had like, we tried to like steer people to the right places if they're gonna, because we already know it's a fucking shit show. You're gonna walk around, you're gonna be like not know where you're going, and you're not gonna realize that there's Mayo's falafel right there. You could have just got yourself a falafel, and it would have made you get to the next spot. But yeah, a lot of that stuff was like because there was no internet, and it was, imagine if you had forethought about what was going to come out and just sort of like stuck on one of those stupid things like Weed Maps, all those things. They all sell for outrageous amounts of money, and they have no physical product. You know what I mean? And we've been the opposite. We've had a physical product in retail store. You know what I mean? We tried the hard way. Now you're concentrating mostly on wholesale, which is obviously the better way to do it, because retail is dead, but I think it's coming back, because I think what's happening is people are now getting so disassociated with shopping that they're just like, dude, there's this thing where you go in and you can like look at stuff, and you're like, that's called a store, dude. You're like,
oh, I thought it was a museum.
Amazon's opening up a whole bunch of them. I'm like, I know, isn't that crazy? Like, so now Amazon is opening up stores because they've fucking fucked up all the stores out there, because people don't know how to shop anymore, because they're like,
so they tore them down and then they built them up themselves.
So now you're going to have Amazon.
How clever.
Right? I mean, so Amazon may reintroduce the concept of shops, but I think a lot of it's now going to be based on experiences at the stores more than, and that was the thing about us being in Amsterdam, is that we always just assumed like everything's an experience. You know what I mean? You come into our store, we'd have a 10-foot tall weed plant out front, for as long as we could, until the cops
disallowed us
for the 10th time, told us we couldn't do it. First, we were just like, whatever.
No, we actually got a permit to have a plant out front, and since a hemp plant is legal, we had this hemp plant in front of the shop. It was great. It drew so many people, and it was also, I told the police when they kept coming, I said, it's very educational, because we had like, hey, this is hemp, it's industrial hemp. You can read about it right there with the plant. And the cops that would come and give us, like, hey, you have to take that down. I'm like, dude, read about it, get some education, so that you know the difference between the two plants. You should know the difference. You're a cop. So, it was
We'd get like one cool cop. It'd be like, it's okay.
Great.
And then we'd have one asshole cop.
And then when I went to renew the permit, they never gave it to us. So that was kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, again, like the highs and lows of running a retail spot in the Dam, you know what I mean? And part of the part you could never get out, you're in the grind there, is that it is like such a predictable place. Like your seasons, you're like, oh, wait a minute, is Easter weekend coming up.
Then it's
Well,
busy.
there's going to be 5 million Italians rolling into town, and it's also very like because everybody has the same. They have their holidays at different times. So like you have the French are on holiday at this month, this part of the month, and then the Italians are at that part of the month, and then
And
you know,
the German.
and none of those are our customers. Our customers were always Americans. Like pretty much from the beginning, it was like we were there to buy and sell for Americans, to Americans, from Americans. You know what I mean? It was like I was selling glass, which was too expensive for any foreigner. Like, what? You have $500 for a glass pipe? They'd be like, it's outrageous. You know what I mean? And so we're selling like heady glass, mushrooms, which this was one of those things where. In the beginning, we didn't plan on selling mushrooms, but it was offered to us, and we're like, yeah, we should probably do that. Yeah. And in the end, there was a time period where that was just gangbusters. I mean, it was nuts. And then,
well, they went from it was legal to sell dry mushrooms, and then they changed it to only live mushrooms because it fell into a different category. But that's harder to measure the dosage. So that was a bit like, ugh, and they only lasted a week. You had to keep them in the fridge. It wasn't as nice as when it was the dry mushrooms because it's a more steady dosage for people. They're not legal here in Colorado, are they?
What's that? Mushrooms? No. There's only, there's the psychedelic thing's coming. I think that's going to be the next like reality check where everybody's like, well, they lied about the weed, and this is all making us lots of money, and everybody seems to be fine, and the schools are getting built, and the roads are getting fixed, and what about all this other stuff? Because, I mean, the thing is that with mushrooms...
It's natural. It's better than the synthetic
And it's not about the party side of mushrooms at all. It's literally... It's more medical than...
Party mushrooms?
No, that never happens. No, but it isn't. It isn't really like... That isn't even the... Like, that was the thing about Amsterdam is that no one ever got out of that mode. Like, when we first heard Stevie D come in and we were like, oh, I got to medicate. We were like, what? like meta who? What? You mean... Oh, you mean get high? No, medicate. Because... Cali understood that they needed to go in that direction if they wanted to get it accepted. Holland always would be like, you guys just want to get high. This is very hard to get out of that sort of world. But with mushrooms, what's the crazy part about it is now everybody's looking at it from a much different point of view. Like if you have PTSD, which there's a shitload of people out there with PTSD, and you have maybe once every 6 months just a mild dose. You don't even need to get really high. It like rewires your shit and makes you like deal with those things so much better. And like so many other people have like brain trauma and shit like that.
Migraines. It'll knock a migraine.
Yeah, like migraines and those cluster headaches and shit like that are like they have no cure for it. They give them a little bit of mushrooms and then boom. So you can understand. So I could see enough people proving those conditions because that's where it's like, 20 years ago, we would all have been like medical, schmedical, you know what I mean? But now we understand and we can defend it 100% because we've seen it work, you know what I mean? Like, look, CBDs, there's a kid having seizures, boom, rub it on his feet, you know what I mean? Like, not even in his mouth, just rub it on his foot, and all of a sudden he stops having seizures. You're like, all right, if that doesn't fucking tell you that that's some medicine, nothing will, right? And with mushrooms, sort of the same thing. You get somebody who's like, can't work and they got cluster headaches and they
also you see this the pharmaceuticals and the addiction to that and the crystal meth. It's like come on,
well, that was the one good thing about Holland is that they were so anti like farmies the whole time when we lived there that there was no chance of getting hooked on pharmaceuticals there because you couldn't even like get to them. He was like, no, we got a lot of legal drugs here. We don't have any of this.
It's definitely an American thing. It's like, America, the statistic is we're 5% of the world's population, but 80% of the opiate use.
Opiate use,
yeah, that's nuts, right? So, I mean, and that's the thing that I loved about living in the Dam was that it was a direct, like, do you want to do heroin? No, because look at all these fuckheads that are around, you know what I mean? They're right in my, because they weren't trying to hide it. It was just there, you know what I mean? And you dealt with it so many times that you could...
Well, and that was the advantage that Holland has always had, is that when they made marijuana more legal, the amount of heroin addicts went down, whereas in other neighboring countries, like France and Germany, the heroin addiction is much higher than Holland. So it really proved that by making weed legal that it would have a lot less people on heroin, which is, a much better situation. And nowadays you don't see junkies.
Yeah, no, it's like New York style where they're like, where'd all the junkies go? They have billboards out in New York because it's just like, the fuck? There's no flavor.
Not the same anymore.
No flavor. We get some flavors out here. But the scary part about those situations though is like back in the day you felt that there was You know, that Holland did have some sort of a heart and some sort of a, like, you know, they were cool. Like, remember our buddy, the redheaded homeless guy that would always come in and give him a jacket every year?
Oh, yeah.
And he'd get arrested, and then he'd come back all cleaned up and, you know, go back into his thing for another couple. And about every 3 weeks he gets arrested and dragged out. But the thing is that guy kind of like was my connection to realizing that it was getting worse and worse there. Like that was like around 2008 right before I left. He was
there's a guy, and he's still there. He puts a plant on his head.
Oh, the plant head guy. Yeah.
Adam would give him a cutting, and he'd walk around town with a plant on his head and cutting.
That was his shtick. His shtick was to walk around. The guy had really, really good balance, like amazing balance.
I mean, you have all these characters. You have a few transvestites, you know, like really badly done. There's the guy that he rollerblades in a
G-string.
In a G-string in the middle of winter.
And covers himself in silver paint.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, the dude in New Orleans, the silver paint guy?
No.
He was arrested for a murder, like, back in, like, the 70s or some shit. This just happened.
Really?
Anyway,
silver
on a
guy?
tangential note. Yeah.
The other silver guy.
So, yeah.
Well, no. Remember the Toast of the Town idea we had years ago? We never did it. But just to interview all the homeless people, take photos of them, and make, like, a Toast of the Town. Because it's like, you get to know all these people, you know what I mean? And it's like... they all have a story, so it'd be actually kind of cool to get their real story. What happened to my the biggest fan there? What's her name? Sylvia.
Sylvia.
The old lady Sylvia.
Oh, you mean Italian?
No. The other she was super old. She looked like a troll, and she ran around town and she knitted everybody's shit, and she
I think I saw her the other day.
If she's still alive, I actually thought about this one homeless lady. I was like, that lady, because she had this thing for dudes with long hair, and she was a South African, but she didn't think, she wasn't like after you. She thought of you as like her slave. Like it was weird. Like I met her, and I was hanging out at this shop, and I was giving her money. Like, I give her €5 or whatever here and there. And at one point, she's like, could you go with me to this place and pick up some stuff? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. So I went there to pick it up. And then she was introducing me to her people, and I was kind of like, wait a minute. You don't think I'm going to do this for you every day? Because like the next day she's like, oh, and now we need to go. Yeah. And then I was like, no, I'm backing out of this deal right here. And then about a week later, I saw her with a guy who looked almost exactly like me. So I was like, I think that's her thing. It's like long hair, dark guys are her like little slave boys or something. It was weird.
I got hunted down by every older woman who wanted to start some kind of hemp thing. You know, so everyone has a hemp idea. It's like they're like, oh, they meet me and they think like, okay, this is my chance, and it's like, oh, I've got this great idea, and I'm always like, okay, you know, I'm sure there's an idea or two out there that's pretty good, but mostly they're not. And then it's like, oh, and then they tell you the idea finally. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to steal your idea. What is it? And then they tell you the idea, and you're like, oh no, here we go. And could you just do it all for me? And I just want to go out on a boat and sail.
I still have it now, like when we do trade shows. Yeah. And at the end of the show, someone will come up to me and they'll be like, hi, my name is Martha. What should I do? I'm like, what? Like, that's it? That's all you're going to ask me? There's absolutely zero. Like, I was like, well, what do you do? Like, oh, and then, you know, well, I take care of senior citizens. And I'm like, okay, so you need to figure out what's those senior citizens need that's hemp or weed related, exactly. And you need to like deliver them because that's your specialty is old people right now. You shouldn't step out of your lane, you know what I mean? And that's the weird part is that there's a lot of people that think they want to get into this industry, but the part of getting in the industry is having a passion for it in the first place, because if we weren't about weed this whole time, we would have definitely gone nuts because, you know, even when you're with your people, you go nuts, right? I mean, you're like, oh my God, what is wrong with these? It's like so hard. But at the end of the day, when you are passionate about it, it doesn't matter. You can deal with it. You know, you're like, whatever. Between the two of us, that was the thing. I think that's the reason why we worked as a partner is that I dealt with the weirdos way better. He can like,
spend all day.
Like I could, because I'd want to get information out of these guys and figure out what they're all about. You know what I mean? And Doug would have like, I'm out of here.
No, because also I had to run around to make the jackets. I mean, we literally made them in Amsterdam. The first jackets were made with Muslim ladies who didn't really leave their homes except to go to the grocery store and sewed them in their homes. So I used to have to go get the fabric, lock the ends, dye the fabric, get the thread, do it all, bring it every. So I'm running around all the time, and then so Adam could talk to all the interesting types a little bit longer more than me. Yeah. And then we learned a few techniques. Like one was like, you know, you get talking and someone's really going, and you already told them, look, I got 5-10 minutes, and it's going longer, and it's like, oh, parking ticket, I got to go run out to the car to park it. That was the number one excuse.
Oh yeah,
because everyone understands that, right? You know, like, oh shit, I don't want to get a ticket, so that was my way out.
But the interesting part too, though, is that at the end of the day, like people who would be my friends, but then end up hanging out with Doug, and then it was like we had to sometimes transitions where, you know, I'm too stony for certain guys. They end up like all of a sudden gravitate towards Doug, and then the other way around. We had like Guy is a good example. You know, Guy is a good friend of mine. We used to work on boats together, but in the end, him and Doug became better friends.
I was best man at his wedding.
Best man at his wedding. See, I got demoted. I'm like, hey, I thought I was your buddy. But you know, it was like. You know, it's always very good to have a good partner in your industry, a business partner. Now, like, be clear about that.
Yes.
Business part, business. But no, it is like the. But it's also funny because if I work with other people and they're like, I got to talk to my partner, I'm like, that's a no. You know what I mean? That's a guaranteed no. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, you should be always watching each other's backs and kind of keeping things moving. And that's been a struggle as far as. Now we're expanding in the sense as far as, you know, America's opening up. Let's bring Julian into the discussion because otherwise he's just going to be like, man, that was the easiest interview I ever did. I didn't say one word.
Okay,
but you know,
I can do the intro here.
Yeah. So when I left, there was a vacuum, right? I mean, literally, it's pretty hard. That was one of the reasons that was hard to leave Amsterdam is that I couldn't imagine how someone else could take over what we were doing because it was all so. You know, fragmented in my head, in his head, not written down anywhere where we both have it and we can both say like, you know, okay, yeah, I agree on that. It was like everybody did what they could do, wore many hats. So after I left, I got always hearing about Julian this, Julian that, Julian this, Julian that, and but interestingly enough, it's kind of like. It's good when you're not maybe in each other's worlds and you're just kind of like cooperating in different ways. So like genetics wise, when people comes from TH seeds, people ask me about it, assuming that I'm part of it and doing it, and I'm like, well, that's actually
because the genetics.
Sure, but at the end of the day, I'm like, well, actually, the work is getting done in Spain, and it's not getting done by me. So you know, it's like one of those like you need to talk to them. So this is a cool opportunity for
bring it together
bring it all together on the show, and also for other people to understand who's in the team. So bring it away, Doug. Show us who this Julian guy is.
So I was at the High Times Cannabis Cup when it was at the what was it? The Roost. That was it.
Uh-huh.
And Massimo works for us. The Spanish call him Maximo. And he's this really lively Italian guy who's really passionate about weed. He's like, Doug, bloody hell, cazzo, come here. You know, he's got this really great accent, you know, and he's like the perfect person to be working in your booth because he speaks every language and he's passionate about weed. So it's like the perfect guy, you know, because you get people from all over the world. That was always the great attraction of the High Times Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam is it's so international. You know, you got people from Japan, from all over the world. So he's like, oh my God, this guy grew out sage from regular seeds and come smell it. So I just was like, wow. And this is Julian right here. He's sitting right next to us.
He's right here.
And since he's French, I was like, well, we call it La Sage, you know, because French is the sage. And so I was like, okay.
Very good, Doug. Very good. Very good. Very good.
So it's not LA Sage. It has nothing to do with Los Angeles.
I know.
Le Pew.
Yes. So anyways, I said, okay, can you actually, there's going to be this bio cup, which was going to be judged by Howard Marks, Mr. Nice, Shanti Baba, a few other people. And can you enter? Because we, like you said, there was a vacuum. We didn't have much going on. And we needed to start entering contests again because it had been a long time since we'd done that. We knew we had good genetics, but the only people growing it out were the people that had bought our seeds. So he had bought the seeds from us, grew it out, and so it was actually an entry from Paris. Mm-hmm. And so our first competition, we won first place with it. So let's give it to Julian.
Give it to Julian.
Come on. Hey.
For this cup, I drive.
Yes.
So with Paris to Barcelona to give the entry.
Stay close to the mic because you're
so
there you go.
It was really
we'll hear it. It sounds better.
Really dangerous for us to enter this cup.
Yes.
But at the end we win. So
yeah.
Well, yeah,
it's
and
really
on top of that, it's like you know, it's great when it's seeds coming from. Then it's there's no like, oh, it's the one selected out of 10,000 cuttings. It's like, you had limited selection.
Yeah, just
so
20 seeds.
we did our job.
Just 2 pack of 10. So
Yeah, so we did our job up to a certain point, but at that point, it's like really down to the skill of the grower. And you were telling me that everybody was like after his ass. Dude.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
all were like, oh, he's the best.
Yeah. And well, what happened is we followed it up with, okay, when's the next competition? I think the next one was in Arun, the Expo Grow. And I think we made 4 entries, and we won like 4 awards.
Right.
So we won first place in the social clubs, first place, and we won second place, first. We're like, wow, this is like a winning formula. And to pull it full circle with Lesage, recently there was a memory of Howard Marks Cup in Mallorca,
no,
right?
but yes, we have the episode with the Act Times too.
Oh yes.
You can say.
Oh yeah, we scored very high THC, but we don't want to go there with the high times thing. We didn't win, but it was strange because we had beaten out Tangi, and then all of a sudden we didn't. And then but let's go to the positive parts. And so then at the Mallorca Cup, we entered Lesage in memory of Howard Marks, which he judged the first time it won, and we win first place again. And it's a really cool trophy.
No politics involved there? Hey, this is actually...
No. They didn't even know.
No.
It was blind testing. Okay. And then what...
And it's not the big event. So...
Yeah.
No, it's always nice when it's like small enough that they are doing it the right way.
Exactly.
You still come on top.
So then we also... Where else did we enter the Lesage in? With the Legends of Hash from Watson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we took second place, which is the first
from
time
last year. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're coming out with some new strains. So now you guys all know about Lesage. That's the story.
That is the story of Lesage.
Yeah, but
that's great. I mean, that was
get a shout out to Sam Skunkman too, because it can be your baby Sage, but the mail came from Sam. So
right. It was a skunk times.
Sage, yes, correct.
Exactly.
And so Sam was so happy when he heard the story of how it all came around,
Yeah.
And so when you met Doug, then were you just doing your own, or were you growing for other people, or you?
No, just my own.
Right.
And I have a shop in the same time around Paris. I have a grow shop, so it's just. I play with my shop the day and the night in my grow room. So.
And that
was really intense during 5 years.
I was gonna say that seems like you'd be on the radar pretty hard as a grow shop guy, and then it must be scary every time you open the door. Just be like, oh, they're
exactly,
coming,
and come back the night, take care of the plant, and the weekend, if I can, drive to Amsterdam to show sample to Dougie, and after I go South Spain to show to the club too. That's why I meet a lot of people in Spain too because I have a cannabis social club just started. So,
and so Spain is now got their clubs. How is France looking on the horizon? Is there any kind of?
Oh, it looks good.
Yeah.
For the moment, just with the last president, we just have tickets. If we get catch on the street smoking, we just get tickets. No more take in jail, no more take moment at the police station. So
and this just happened.
It's a good step. Well, it's just happening.
Nice. Because I would think with him, it would start to obviously fall in line with like pretty progressive drug. I would think their policies would change. Which it's kind of interesting because like France always played like this crazy guardian between, you go to Spain and everything was kind of like cool-ish, you know what I mean? There was like moments where you got machine guns in your face, but it was still pretty cool, you have to be careful.
Just in Spain, they're just having an official paper in Catalonia for all the regulation of the club. So they have a big step in front of us. Just look like if Madrid don't do nothing in the next 6 months, it look like the regulation in Catalonia is going to be good.
Right. And did you check with Jack if he's still awake, or could bring him in like the next 10 or something like that? Because then we got about 30 left or so, 25, 30 minutes left. Yeah. So it'd be good to get him in on like in about 10. We could like discuss a little more about things that are seed wise that you've been doing. Like, well, the Chico, the ones that I get obviously asked, the way I was saying earlier, would be like the Chico, of course, and
Chicle.
Chicle. See, I don't even know how to say it.
It's your baby.
I know.
So what it was.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying.
baby.
I know, but you did the selection, of course. So that's
Yeah,
half
and
the
we went for price, just like less than 2
Yeah,
years.
we won with the hash. So the thing is that we've discovered is bubblegum makes really good hash, especially BHO. And so every time we enter a bubblegum or a bubblegum cross, we win the BHO every time in Spain.
Every time.
Yeah.
You lock in on it.
And so I think, can I tell so it's, what is it? It's bubblegum crossed with Chemdog, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was the Chem Double D, which, you know, so it's kind of like, unfortunately, connected to people that everybody doesn't love anymore. Not JJ, of course. And so like the Chem Dog side of it all. But the crazy part was like that Chem Double D was definitely interesting enough that everybody there was a lot of different crosses came off of it, and also it's pretty noticeable when you because the phenos are not that many of them available. So you're like, all right, got the one that everybody wants, you know.
But one thing I want to add is that Julian grew the flower, but the BHO was made by someone else in the Basque Country. The winning BHO.
Secret man, secret guy.
Secret
guy. He's a surfer, probably.
Yes.
Basque, I would say.
Yeah.
I'll break it down to that. I'll bring it down to that. The guy definitely surfs.
Yes.
Otherwise, Doug wouldn't know him.
No.
Or bring it up, put it that way. It would be like, I don't surf.
He's a small, skinny guy.
Oh, don't bring it too close. Now there might be a lot of, skinny.
Actually, the guy that made it is not a surfer.
Okay.
But he's a good little scientist guy. He loves the bubble gum.
Gotta have at least one guy. You gotta have the scientists.
Yeah.
Those are our favorite shows. Those are the ones that it gets nuts. So, how's your selection based? Are you giving a lot of different things to different people?
About
or you
the
keep it all?
Hopefully, I have a big space in Basque Country at this moment. So I made the selection about 20 lights. So maybe I crack 200 seeds.
Yeah.
And I make really good selection with maybe 1 year.
Yeah.
Like I make 3 or 5 cycles to select the right pheno.
And you do it all indoors?
Yeah. All indoor.
Yeah. And I mean, is it like? I feel like Spain was when I was there. We had issues also with. It seemed like power was always a little bit of an issue. Everything was a little bit kind of weird there, and it seems like everybody knows what's going on. It was funny because I talked to this guy the other day, and I met him at the show when I was. I'm trying to think what he worked. He worked with somebody that I was like not too impressed with. It was Arian. There you go. Of course, yeah, of course Arian, because he had the Buddha fooding shirt on. Hey, I said, hey, Buddha fooding. He's like, what? I was like, Buddha fooding, and he was like, oh no, I'm from Barcelona, and I was like, oh okay, well that's cool. And I was like, you know Julian? He's like, yeah, and he was a little tiny dude. He was here for a show with another little girl. It's pretty much describing every single person in the Catalan country. He was small, dark hair. His girlfriend had dark hair. They were really small. They were nice. Yeah, they're like everybody there, but no, he was really cool, and he knew all the players, and we sat around and did the classic talk. But he said I was like, oh, well, we used to have a spot at Casa de Fels, and he's like, everybody grows at Casa de Fels. When you drive down the road, you just go, there's Casa de Fels. That guy grows. This guy grows. That guy grows. I was like, oh my god,
like everywhere.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
So it's really changed. When I were there, it was kind of this was like 6 years ago, and it was still a little bit more secretive 7 years ago. And but yeah, I heard it's just blowing up. Because the best part was is I go, oh yeah, we were at the house next to Messe. He goes, I'm at the house next to Messe. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute, are you in my old house? It was one of those discussions where it was just like, are you fucking kidding me right now? But yeah, he was like, no, I think I was on the other side because I'm pretty sure the guy has a big house. I'm sure there's more than one house next to his place.
I need to follow the story, no?
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's still a movie, so
yeah.
I need to follow the story.
And but yeah, it's kind of gotten to that point where it's known now that it's you get a little rich neighborhood, which people just love blowing up. I mean, it's
some funny story in Spain. You have some like big neighborhood, like really small town. At 8 on the night, the full town it's blackout because all the grow room started at 8 on the night. So they shut down all town because all the power exactly. So they figure out with a company of electricity.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Everybody, please
going
just
on?
alternate your times. Everybody, you have to
And
step
they
up.
stole electricity, and
Yeah,
it's a
that's
big
funny
mess.
with the timing. Yeah, because I can see that too. And then in neighborhoods, like when your building grows here, it's amazing how, because everybody has to work within the parameters of actual codes and stuff. So they're putting on transformers like you're going out of fucking style, to the point where they're like, oh, you can't even work it off the pole anymore. We have to bring in a whole switch gear that brings it direct, and it's like a tractor trailer truck worth of fucking electronics, and they drop it off, wow, in front of your place, and you're like, okay, we've stepped. I mean, nobody does that in Europe. It can think about the places in Barcelona, the power and how shitty it is, and like, oh, it's just, yeah, you're asking for disaster, I think, always, and it's like it's taxing on the thing, on the system. I think. Is there any outdoor growing at all going on, or?
It's still, I mean, the thing is that it went back and forth. So at the beginning, you'd have your club, social club, and the grow would be like right above it. I remember
Yeah, like
that.
I remember
That was
how
cool.
Jaime's was
Yeah.
down in the basement thing.
And then
I never saw it happen. But.
that changed to where it was you could have a permit to grow associated with the club, depending on how many members they had. And then La Mesa got in trouble. And then it was like, oh God, so now you don't want to be associated with the clubs. And so it keeps going back and forth. And so now it looks like, at least in the Catalonia area, it's going to be back to you can grow for a club. That's the way it looks, unless the federal government, they have the same, kind of a similar situation that we have, is that you have regions that have different laws, but then you always have the federal government, which is based in Madrid. Yeah. So, and they could sometimes come and put the stamp down.
And has Madrid got any? They have clubs and everything. Or?
Yeah, they've got clubs now too.
Yeah, they got club.
Nice.
They got club everywhere in Spain.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of like seemed more regional at first, but now that's great. If everybody's, I mean,
everywhere.
And it can't. How's the taxing of it? Is there anybody making any money though, or is that like?
Yeah, they pay their tax.
They pay little tax because it's still association
crazy, right?
with non-lucrative.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, they don't. Okay. I bet they do.
No, not a single sale.
Just for the drinks, for the food they sell. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
But not about the product.
Right.
Because for the member. If you are a member, you don't pay taxes about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Strange.
Well, that's amazing because I mean here that is the focus on everything.
What is the tax rate here?
About 30 or so. It's like, and that's. But at the same time, there's so much internal tax going on too, where it's just like, oh, you're growing. Well, this guy's been, quadruple charging you now for X amount of years, and you're in the contract, and just like if you look at you'd be better off going out and moving out and buying a property and building a whole new place, but you're stuck on this bullshit and paying. People are paying, like, some people pay, like, for instance, $10,000 for a 4,000 square foot place just because they know you're growing there, and it would be $800. Right. You know what I mean? It's just like, whoa, they're so.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, so it's amazing.
So you wanted to pull in Jack. So Jack is the owner of the plug in Barcelona, right? That Jack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's also started a delivery service in Oakland, I believe.
He just opened it like last month.
So Julian was a little bit upset because we were on a roll of winning every contest, and at the Spanibus we won with Underdog, and then the next year we share a booth with Jack, and we didn't win anything, and he won first place. We're like, what? What happened? And Julian's, I'm back next year.
Yes.
What did he win with?
Purple lemon cookie.
Okay. It did look good. He just didn't
that's a cookie. Yeah, like. Yeah. If you enter cookie or sherbet or something like this, you win something.
It's because it was
about
new.
The color,
Yeah.
He say it's not. They don't get you high. They don't put high in a contest. Like explain better. Than
yeah. So I looked. I was like, can I see the ballot?
Flavor. Yeah, like flavor contest.
Yeah. So basically, they didn't have high.
This was flavor contest.
It was
no
appearance
on the panel.
and flavor. You're like, really? What about how high you get? Isn't that important? Mm-hmm. So, because we're THCs, that's kind of important to us.
Well, yeah, that's where we score high normally. Normally score high in that department. Well, a lot of people, are trying to do it like more like a wine contest. That's where you don't really drink it and you don't get you're just like spitting it out, you know, and
that's not good.
it's kind of the, you know, or the idea that it's, you know, impossible to judge, which if you do it in too short of a time, it's true. But if you, you know, do it smart and kind of space it out, you don't have to get ripped off every single thing. You have to like take enough to see if there's an effect. And if there's not, then you don't keep going and going, I smoke the whole thing and maybe there'll be an effect. That's not really the point. Like, you know, take a couple hits, chill out, you know, and you can space it out. It is possible. I mean, we've done so many contests, and now it literally becomes like a, you know, everybody gets together, figures out smell, and then figures out visual, and kind of scores it on that together because that's like easier and more fun.
Right.
And then you kind of get down and, you know, do it yourself for all the effects. You don't need it. You can't do it in a group because it's not going to work.
Yeah, you could call it.
Oh, this shit sucks. You know what I mean? You got to like literally do all the effect stuff on your own time. So the problem is like not. It's not like you know, running through everything real as fast as you can and just try to figure it out. It's more like do it in a smart way. And when we were doing it, we were like trying to figure that out for everybody.
We had probably too many categories.
Well, yeah.
Which was nice because then it's like, okay, you figure out the best ones. And if a contest has like only mostly sativa or mostly indica, or the Spanibus before it was horrible. It had bio or hydra. You're like, yeah, but you know, it's better to distinguish. Okay, you can do that too, but more important, sativa, indica, and mix.
Yeah,
you know?
no, but they don't have hybrid.
Yeah, they don't have hybrid.
No.
Yeah.
Indica, sativa, most of the strain today is most hybrid. No one have sativas anymore in competition, so it's a little bit weird too.
Yeah. We'll make it.
Well, we have it. We have the exact opposite now with the ADSI. It's like it's head to head. There's your weed versus our weed. There's nothing. There's no other parameters besides that, which is you know, like haze versus indica versus whatever. Didn't matter. And even
was it
like,
double elimination or single elimination?
Double elimination.
Double.
Yeah, so we get everybody get into another category, and we'd like do the you know put them into the next round, and it actually worked out real well because at the end the top two each year, I think even all three in the 1 year were all organic, and none of us were privy to what it was. It was just kind of like it wasn't like there was no prettiness to it or anything because it wasn't about scorecards and everything. It was just like, bring it, you bring it, I bring it, boom, boom, back to back. And this is the winners. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, how's that? 3 organic fucking weeds. It didn't matter. So in the end, it's like kind of spoke to me like, all right, well, if you really want to grow weed that you want to smoke, that would be it. Because, and we all do that, I mean, we like, if you know something's good, like if it's haze and it's ugly, but it fucking tastes really, really good and whatever, you don't care because you know what the end is going to be, compared to like going into a shop and wanting to buy, oh, it's the prettiest weed, it looks so great, you know what I mean? It's like pretty, it's not always a, that isn't really, it's very hard to know because it's a per strain, per thing. And that's one of those things where as a noob now it's kind of like, be nice if it was like, hey, this is organic, costs a tiny bit more, and I'd buy it if I was a noob and I didn't know what was going on, because I think, okay, at least, and chances are your weed would be better, even if it was, so you weren't all worried about how it looked. But we'll see, live and learn. That's the problem with like factory growing and all that kind of style shit. It's like, your guy in Barcelona with the plug, he's kind of like picky about he's only indoor, so right, and his style, but it's also
only
very
top
clean.
shelf indoor, extraction too. Because it's English guy too, so in English the style and the mentality, it's more than France and Spain, and they follow a lot the US, so they have really the big culture of the dab, 710. They make a lot of competition, a lot of extraction, a lot of extractor to travel to Cali. So and they spend a lot of money in.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, but they're going for the perfect example of what people should do here, which is like, don't worry about. I mean, of course, have a nice, comfortable place and make it nice, but don't make it like super clean and looks like a Apple store but has shitty weed. You know what I mean? Like that's stupid. I'd rather have a little funky place than good weed. It'd be like
the plug that's not the most bigger place, but about quality. That's one of the best. The backyard too, for instance.
And you saw that in Amsterdam too, where it was like, Hunter's kind of like, he tried a little bit. Like he was one of the Dutch guys who, I always thought was like you go in and you give him a price and he would be like, okay, it's a little bit more than I want to pay, but he'd pay you because he understands that you have to do that, and then you keep coming back, and other guys would be like, chisel, like
Well, it's turned on its head now because you have this coffee shops, Deborah Youngas, and they have actually mostly good quality. You've got the Down Cream that's got good quality.
Yeah, there's a
Greenhouse still has good quality. Some.
What?
Yeah, I know, Adam.
What?
No, there still are some. Like he has his lemon haze is always good, and so each coffee shop has something. But
AG13,
then
12.
a few of these new strains came out, and then one coffee shop would have it, and that just blew everything out of the water because now it's like, okay, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Girl Scout cookies, wow, let's charge like 3 times as much.
Yeah, you were telling me guys some crazy prices last night, right?
Yeah, 30 euro a gram, 50
30
for the gelato,
euros
sunset
a gram.
sherbet, Skittles.
Here it gets cheaper and cheaper and
It's
cheaper
like
and cheaper.
50 euro a gram. It's like the same price than the cocaine, more or less. No, really.
Right. Yeah, and it was like, it's nuts because like everywhere else is gotten to the point where you're just like, here $100 ounces all day long, not top shelf, but if you want to go top shelf, you're looking at like maybe $200 like max, you know what I mean? And then you go to another state and it'll be still 380s, crazy. So there's like a weird flux going on, but it's getting to the point where it's gone from like West Coast to East Coast, reduction in price, and then you go to you look at Europe, and it's just like scales kind of flipped since the time that I moved there, And I remember sitting and looking at Tupperwares and things full of seeds and being like, ooh, if I could have that in America, it'd be worth so much money, you know what I mean? And then it was like, but now it's like the opposite almost. It's like, the people here got buckets of seeds. You're like, whoa, if I could have this in Europe, it'd be worth so much, So it's like the complete flip flop.
Yeah.
So there you go. So you're you plan on coming back to Cali literally, and once in a while, kind of get the THC strain kind of rolling. We can talk about the getting some stuff to James, and there's some projects going on, which is nice. So yeah, that's. I think THC needs a home in America that's be Cali based, so Doug will feel comfortable. It's got to be near the water, though. It's got to be within 15 minutes driving, or else.
But you want Santa Cruz.
Yeah, but
or San Diego.
We're working with some people in Humboldt, and they're going to come out with. It'll probably be a little bit later in the spring of next year. We'll start seeing the stuff. So
nice.
Just the time they start the regulation. And
of course. It's always like right when they get all. It's the time that all of a sudden you're involved. But it is good. Regulation is weird because it was one thing about Holland though, was when we lived there, it was like at least we had a sort of framework. Nobody really knew, because a lot of times we were pushing the framework border a little bit further than it necessarily was used to. But we definitely every so often would say, well, but and you were really good. Doug was always like I would have given up, you know what I mean? But take us and Doug would be like, nope, it says right here. He's like one of those guys that gets in there and kind of figures out the one little it says right here, and then you're like, damn it, and exactly. And so it has been a pretty long ride, like I said, 25 years, and you've already been involved now for the last 3 years or 4 years now, almost.
Yeah, so I think 4 years.
Yeah. So you see how quick it goes, but I feel like I've gotten nothing but really good. I always get really good results from people. And like I said, a lot of times it's questions about new stuff that came out, and I'll be like, dude, I really don't. I didn't even know until yesterday. I looked. Whoa, look at that! We got woo, because I know a year ago I gave you stuff to play with, and then it was but it's nice to see that synergy works with people, even if you're not right in the same room. And I think with growers and extractors and all these different breeders and things, it's now because we're all mellower and we're kind of will work with people. You get all these collabs, and the collabs are interesting, but they're also many one-offs. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and that's kind of where you're like, oh yeah, get that one while you can, because I know that ain't gonna work out. There's the clash of the mind titans, And I think it's good that we have reps kind of that are working it right, and then on top of that, when California gets a little bit more of a taste of what you guys can, do for them.
Yeah,
and,
what we can bring in.
Yeah, and then it'll be a good combo there, and also it goes so quickly global. Like I was asking about France, and you think like wouldn't imagine there's certain places like Cali, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The rest of America, maybe, but not really. You know what I mean? And now we've got a chance to not only experience it, but like be involved in it and shape it sometimes when we can. But it's like it is getting to the point where I'm seeing court like it is getting kind of weird. Like here in Colorado, it's tightening up and tighter, and it's not fun. And it's like they haven't let people loose. So I don't know. Give this place a very short amount of time, maybe 2 more years, and then it's like out of here anyway. So
you see, he wants to go to the coast soon too. I think.
Pick a good spot. Pick a good spot so we can have our houses.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I was thinking Santa Cruz.
So there you go. Who knows? We may end up
from the Ace browser, and we make the Sage browser, like you said yesterday,
right
in Santa Cruz.
So we'll see the future of that one, but it'll be cool to see. So track that one if you can.
Well, and also it's like Julian's always asking, ask Adam about this, ask Adam about that strain. He's so into it, Like as soon as I went into one of his rooms, I was just like, oh my God, this guy, forget everyone else. He's gonna kill him because it's so clean and it's just like it's immaculate. He spends so much time down there and he changes the bulbs.
Does he wear French maids?
No.
While he does it, that's the question.
No, mostly French hip hop. He's listening to
French hip hop, American hip hop.
Yeah.
Tell
Bob Marley, Tupac.
So that French. So there was French cookies. Can you go like?
Oh yeah, we have a few new strains.
Just tell us those strains because we're gonna run out of time soon. We're down at the last 5, 8.
And we feminized your chocolate chunk.
And we'll tell us about. Also, was there a French toast or something like that?
No, French cookies.
Oh, French cookies. Okay, who's there? Somebody else.
Fraisier.
We're working on a new one.
Okay.
Fraisier. Explain.
Yeah, strawberry cake. It's like double bubble gum.
And Fraisier
strawberry cake flavor a little bit. It's really interesting.
Coming soon.
Exactly.
With a French accent. You have to have it when you open the pack.
The French cookie is actually it's a back seed from a cookie from one travel in Cali.
Yeah.
I just found one seed in a platinum cookie seed.
That's how the original was made anyway. Too.
Yeah, and I also want to say something on that.
All the cookie today, like from everyone, it's from the back seed. So.
Is that we be honest about it? Like a lot of guys in Holland or wherever said that this guru gave him a seed off of a mountain, and sometimes that's happened, but mostly, it is what it is.
We have heard that one.
Yes, of course. So in a way, it's like sometimes, you or Julian will breed a seed. Other times, it just comes to you.
Of course.
And then
exactly.
That's how it is.
Well, bag seed's where it's at anyway, in my opinion, just because at least you have smoked the mother, hopefully, of that one, and like you kept it for a reason. So if you keep some seeds because you smoked the weed and you're like, oh, that's pretty good, and you kept the seeds, well, you've at least got you've connected that much to it compared to buying stuff is even harder because now you're just off the shelf buying it. You didn't smoke that weed that it came from. So if you get a chance to smoke the weed, I think, and you at least usually when I was always stoked is someone would give me a pack or give me a vial or whatever, and it would have one little note that would be change my world as far as it would tell me long flowering, super sweet or super sticky or super, so you knew at least that's what you're looking for. You know what I mean? So if you don't have that and to trust it, because that one is a handwritten note, I trust that more because that person smoked it and took a piece of paper and pen and they wrote it in, stuck it in that time capsule. I forgot. And then 30 years later you find it and you're like, oh, this is pretty awesome. So it must be hard for you because I didn't leave any of that behind. It was kind of a...
No, you left it. I sent them a lot of seeds.
Yeah, I know. But at the end of the day, I also...
Master Kush.
The Roof 95.
The Roof 95.
Right. And we've got a whole bunch of new ones to play with, too. So, it's going to be... it's interesting to see the developments because I think right now... In Europe, it's still feminized, hardcore. Everybody's feminized. That's one of the things that you can keep the boat alive there for that. Exactly. It's weird over here though, dude. People are much more regular seed orientated. They're not I've sat at tables You can talk to James. James is making the sales, and he'll tell you that it's definitely, it's moving up, let's say, but at the same time, when it comes to like the collectors and the big time, those guys, they're still pretty hardcore on it. It's like I think I was right on that one. That was one of our big arguments. But
the thing is,
I was right on that one for the long term. But
at the beginning, the feminized seeds weren't as good as they are now.
Oh no, there was definitely
The
issues.
few people buy our regular seeds. They buy our seeds one time, and 6 months after they make a new bank of seeds.
Right.
Simple. With a new name.
Oh no, we've seen that. We just talked about it earlier. It happens all the time. It's literally like the last guy with his thing. He took photos of the first. Like if you go back, you just have to scroll back on his Instagram, and it's like you go all the way to the back, and it's like a picture of a bed at a hotel with a 12 packs of seeds. And you scroll to the front, and it's a seed company. You're like, oh, this is like the telltale sign.
Joe Byer guy or whoever.
Yeah.
With the powdery mildew shot.
Exactly. And it was just like literally like where you were like, wait a minute, if I go back into the history, I can see the seeds that he bought, and I go up and I see him selling them now for $20 a pack with the same descriptions as the originals. Like they're, what I mean? It's just like, come on. Yeah. So anyway, that's the people, that's the jokers that are out there. People like us.
No, we're going to be doing it the right way. You two together.
It's our 25th anniversary next year. That's the other announcement. We will keep you tuned on that. July is officially the 25th, so I'll kind of like probably push it till then because we're late like that anyway.
Adam, you're very sentimental.
I am. And now, I am. Now I'm thinking about these things. I'm all like, I'm not really sentimental as much as I have to like address things every so often because I'm like, wait a minute, didn't we do this back? And most of them are just, things that I literally said, this definitely would have worked in America. It didn't work now. Maybe a little bit. But we were always struggling over there, swimming against the stream in another country that was swimming against the stream. So I was like,
But now it's wonderful what's happening in America.
Now Doug can come home finally. Because I was thinking, you've been there now. Because when I was there first and you got there, I'd been there for maybe 2 years, 3 years, something like that.
I think I've been there 22 years.
Yeah, and I left on 21 years. So it's like, that's a tough one. You're already at 2 years past due date. You know what I mean? Like you're getting all stanky. Come on back home now.
Could be.
I mean, the reality is, it's like, it is nice to be here to at least witness all this shit go down because it's never going to happen again.
Oh man, I remember when we went to that LA Expo.
Yeah,
and
in
I was just
2009.
like, even the first time that Mike came over and said he had a dispensary, I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Because I was like living in a bubble over in Amsterdam.
In 2009, I think that was, and that was a year before I got here, and that was.
And I remember seeing Stevie D because he used to own from Harborside. He used to own Ecolution, which was a hemp jeans company. He even rented an office from us, and I was like, "You have a dispensary?" I'm from Oakland originally, I'm like, "You have a what?" Like, really? People just come in and buy weed? It just was not in my, I just couldn't imagine it, until I saw it. So that's like, now I'm like, wow, now they're going rec. It's like, ooh, that's crazy, man. That's going to be like the Disneyland of weed.
Well, and like we were talking about earlier, Nevada's going to be nuts. It's going to be already, because we know cannabis can deliver, but at the same time, it's not liquor or something like that, where, people are going to kind of overproduce. We know that. There's going to be way too much production, and then the quality is going to be a small percentage of that production. So it's really going to be like finding
we always
golden nugget.
Relate it to like a vineyard because Julian's from France. So what are we going to call it again? Is it a champagne or something? What is it?
Grand Reserve.
Grand Reserve. Yes, that's what we want to grow.
Right. Well, I mean, it is going to be, it's terroir, and that's what California crushes right now. It's all going to be regional, and everyone's going to have their thing, and that's where they're lucky.
About the land, the soil.
Yeah, and they're lucky because they're in the perfect spot for that. But at the same time, the market is shrinking and turning weirder, and I'm lucky. That's why we should come here and witness from this side, because over there, we know what the future is of Holland. They have to go through a huge amount to get back even to close to keep catching up to anybody anymore. They're like losing ground on that department.
Yeah, I think what will happen there is they'll probably license within the next 4 years, maybe like 10 people, something like that.
Well, what's his name is still rolling hard. Our other buddy who we helped out when he first came over, and now he's like running that farm, the only legal farm that's there. You know, what's his name?
You mean in Holland?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was now with Sensi.
No, you know what I'm talking about, right?
I think so.
Anyway, that's another whole show. We are over. The show's over officially now. 8. It's like, man, that was long. It was long, but went quick. You see how quick it goes? Because stories on stories on stories. Doug, part 12.
Yes.
Dougie
More to
Fresh,
come.
part 12.
And guest starring.
The French Connection himself.
Yeah.
Julien, the Frenchie is here. We don't have a Stinky Le Pew. I can't believe it. No one's really. You didn't do a Stinky Le Pew sort of mail in. We need that.
Le Pew.
Come on. I want to thank all of the listeners who have listened to us ramble on about stuff in incoherent ways. Didn't drink anything. Notice that. We made it a bunch. If we were our old selves, this would have turned so sloppy. Oh my God. Yeah. Willie would have called in. Al, it would have gotten crazy. We haven't even touched the surface of the debauchery that has gone down. But if you want to check in next week, we actually have some sort of a schedule, and I'll put it out earlier this time. But I have no idea right now. Can't pull it up. No excesso, but James Bean and I actually came up with some sort of a magic plan. Okay. It's going to work out great.
A magic bean.
Yeah, magic bean plan. So I want to thank Mr. Bean for calling in for the 420, Mr. Bean, man on the scene, whatever swag that we try to do every week. Worked out this week. I want to thank Doug for showing up. I want to thank Julian for rolling in. I want to thank Joel, Ace down at the farm, who's blowing me up. Andy down there. I'm putting the money in the bank right now.
CC for watching DJ.
CC
Nick,
for watching DJ.
My
Nick,
son,
that must be fun. DJ's now 9 years old.
9 years old.
Wow.
That's great. So you know what I hate
almost
about that
double of Doug.
is that they're like, oh, that makes you senior. I'm like, what? I don't feel senior.
Oh, you're hella senior now. Yeah, Doug's senior. He had to tell you that? You didn't know it?
No, people will say, oh, if he's Doug Jr., then I'm like, no, don't even go there.
Yeah.
No. I don't look like senior.
Of course you are. Now you're going to be like the gym coach soon. Doug Senior. No, it's pretty cool to see because I never would have imagined that we would be looking at the next generation.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people now I'm a successful breeder because I have a kid. Before that, I was nothing. I was not a breeder. I was not a breeder before that.
Julian also has a son. We all three of us have sons.
My 3 sons. Our 3 sons, actually. Big shout out to little Nick and CC. One double up. Big
DJ.
Big DJ. It's funny that Doug's kid's name's DJ because it's like the opposite. Doug's opposite of a DJ, but it looks like one right now. That's the funny part. Wiki, woo. All right, guys. See you guys next week. Peace.
Practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden
This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.